It's a beautiful Friday morning, and yes, we are right here in the studios of Joy News. This is the AM show. It's a Friday, it's the AM show. It's Benjamin Akakpo and Bernice Abubedu Lanza serving it. How many slices do you want? Well, we'll give it to you this morning on the show. Just stick and stay between now and 10 a.m. Promise? Deal. All right, so let's get right down to it. You know what to expect. I'll be bringing you the news shortly. And right after that, the news review. Samuel Cudjoe, my colleague here at Joy News, will be joining me as we slice and dice, get into the nitty-gritty of the newspapers. And right after that, we'll bring you sports, we'll serve you sports. And after that, I'll be sharing my blunt thoughts. Today, I've titled it, Poverty, Peace, and Prestige. Ghana's unprecedented pratfall. Poverty, Peace, and Prestige. Ghana's unprecedented pratfall. That's the title for my blunt thoughts today. Look forward to that around 7:45, 7:50 this morning. Now, right after that, we'll be serving you our big stories. And the first one on the radar, we're going to be having an interaction, if you'd like to call it, with the Minister for Public Enterprises. I'm talking about Joseph Cudjoe. Now, in recent times, there has been talk about some 17 state-owned enterprises, assets that are going to be sold off. What are the dynamics of those? How did we get to this point? We've seen dilapidated structures, ramshackle structures. How did we get here? He will be explaining to us, he will be elucidating on what we can expect and how this will benefit the state, all of us, this morning on the show. But from there, we take you to the, guess what? The Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. Have you not been there yet? If you haven't, it's a go-to place, I can assure you. I was there this week. Fantastic. I didn't get to see all the facilities, but I'll tell you someone who will get to see all of them. Bernice Abubedu Lanza. And you, because she'll be there today interacting with the architect who put up the project, the consultant, the administrator of the place, among a host of other people who will be throwing light on that place. Have you wondered why the fares or the charges have ticked up there? Well, they'll be explaining that to you as well. So stick and stay with us on the AM show and let us bring you the scoop this morning. As always, we'd love to hear from you. Shoot your thoughts to us in the course of the live stream and give us a buzz when we activate the phone lines at the end of the show. On that note, let's settle for the news up next. Thank you for staying. Time now for the news. And in our first story, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice says it will invite former Environment Minister Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng to assist with its investigations into allegations politically connected individuals stifled the Galamsey fight. Now, this indication comes in the wake of Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo, informing the Commission he does not have any evidence to provide. The legislator petitioned Shraj to investigate the matter following widespread publication of the report with a focus on how key government and politically connected individuals stifled the fight against illegal mining. Shraj says it is going ahead to probe the matter despite admitting there are practical difficulties.
We gave the list of the areas of interest in terms of evidence that we think, if they have it, they should make it available to the Commission. It took a while. I think that letter has been with them for well over 4 weeks. Until now, we have, that is if I remember, a response from them. But of course, I want to assure Ghanaians that the Commission is investigating this complaint irrespective of whether the complainant is able to assist or not. But it is a duty of every complainant, if you actually have a case before the Commission, to be seen to be interested in supporting the commission with any evidence that could be available to you. So that is the angle from which the letter written to them was given. And so I must say that we're doing a lot. We've reached out to a number of state institutions, expecting them to forward to us evidence of what we also expect from the complainant as well. There's nothing wrong with having the opportunity to look at all possible evidence and all nuances of the evidence in order to make the findings that we think we would have to make. So we have done a lot for now.
I mean, in terms of their response to you, they specifically make the point that Professor Frimpong Boateng has what you need, and he's already publicly indicated that he authored those documents. Am I to understand that the individuals that you intend to invite, or those you have already invited, does it include Professor Frimpong Boateng?
As I told you, we don't do that. We don't normally want to do this in the media. But of course, if the good old prof has got information for us on aspects of the complaint, we will reach out to him. But you see, there is an aspect of the complaint we need complainants to appreciate. In addition to the report by Frimpong Boateng, the complainants have made specific allegations against Professor Frimpong Boateng himself on allegations of corruption and the missing excavators and others. You don't expect that. That means that in the context of the allegations against Frimpong Boateng, in the eyes of the commission, becomes a respondent. And so we can't be asking Frimpong Boateng to come and give evidence against himself. We must get that evidence external of Frimpong Boateng. So the areas that we may need Frimpong Boateng will be areas that have no allegations against him, but for which he has the evidence to support.
I mean, so it means that at this stage, there's the possibility that you call upon him at some point in time.
Definitely. Especially in regard to the areas, one, that he can support the commission with evidence about his own report, and possibly reach out to him as a respondent in respect of the allegations made specifically against him in the area of corruption and the excavators.
I mean, in terms of that allegation, how would you be investigating it? I mean, clearly they did not give you any evidence with regards to that specific one.
That is why we wrote to them, to appreciate the need to give further and better particulars, because Frimpong Boateng cannot give evidence against himself.
I mean, are you able to give us a sense of how many people you are looking at, or how many institutions, for instance, you've also written to? Because it's the petition that was sent to you broadly says that all the named officials in it, as against a petition that ordinarily would have targeted specific names written on the documents.
At this stage, I would not want to go into the details of the investigation. Suffice it that we have written to a number of state institutions to provide evidence. Those people who will be respondents, we are also going to reach out to them. Don't forget, we need the evidence first to ascertain that there is a basis for us to contact the other people who will become respondents. In the absence of any evidence beyond what they have given to us, we need further information or evidence to be able to say the named persons in Frimpong Boateng's report, there is enough basis for us to require a response from them. That is why we're still at this angle of the investigation.
I mean, in terms of your procedure, I know that mostly what you tend to do is when you receive a petition, you do a determination to see that whether this is a matter that falls within your ambit. Am I to understand that you've already crossed that hurdle already?
We've crossed that.
Now, there are multiple legal and administrative processes set in motion to have a new judge handle the trial of Minority Leader Dr. Cassiel Attoforson. The current judge, Justice Ifiasewa Asare-Botwe, has been accused of bias, and the Minority Leader and businessman Richard Jakpa are all demanding her removal from the case. The two are standing trial for their alleged roles in the purchase of ambulances, which the Attorney General says resulted in a €2 million loss to the state.
Businessman Richard Jakpa has petitioned the Chief Justice, asking that she transfers the case to a new judge. It is unclear at this stage what specifically is Mr. Jakpa's concern regarding the current judge handling the case. Justice Efia Asare-Botwe on Thursday indicated that allegations of bias have been leveled against her. It will be recalled that Mr. Jakpa clashed with the judge on June 20, 2023. This bordered on how he had reacted when a clerk of the court had offered him a sanitizer sent to him by the judge. The judge warned she will not tolerate any disrespect from the parties in the case. The businessman Joy News Understands holds the view the judge will not be fair and should be stopped from handling the case. The Minority Leader, on the other hand, has filed a motion at the court asking the judge to recuse herself. He contends some comments made by the judge raises questions regarding her impartiality. Specific reference is made to the judge's warning of issuing a warrant for the arrest of Dr. Forson's witnesses who failed to show up in court. The Minority Leader holds the view that if a summoned witness fails to show up, the court needs to inquire into the reason for the absence rather than simply threaten to cause the arrest of the witness. He therefore wants the judge to recuse herself from the matter in the interest of a fair trial. Justice Efia Asare-Botwe announced that due to the pending petition to the Chief Justice, the case will be put on hold awaiting the decision of the Chief Justice. The request by the Minority Leader will also remain outstanding while the court awaits further direction. The Minority Leader has meanwhile petitioned the court asking that his passport be released to enable him travel. That matter is also yet to be dealt with. The case is back in court on July 27.
Now, recent findings by the World Bank have revealed that 50% of 10-year-old students in developing countries struggle with literacy. A post-COVID assessment revealed that this figure had increased to 70%. Managing Director of Operations for the World Bank, Anna Bierde, shared the outcome of this investigation on a visit to the New Gbawe Municipal Basic 1 School to assess the progress of the Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes project, that is GALLOP. There is more in this report.
The Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcome project, GALLOP, is an initiative founded by the World Bank. The project supports 10,500 schools nationally. The World Bank Managing Director of Operations, Anna Bierde, as part of her visit to Ghana, went to the Gbawe Municipal Assembly Basic 1 School, one of the beneficiaries of the GALLOP project. She expressed concern about the inability of pupils and students in developing countries to comprehend what they read.
So before COVID, we were tracking data of 10-year-old children to see how many 10-year-old children in the world had a difficult time reading a story that was appropriate for their age and understanding it fully. For developing countries, low-income and low-middle-income countries around the world, 57% of those 10-year-olds actually had difficulty. That was a high number, we felt, and gave us a reason before COVID to really focus and continue to focus on education and learning, actually trying to quantify and understand whether children were learning. After COVID, we have reassessed that number, and it's not a good outcome. We now put the number at 70%. 7 out of 10 children at age of 10 have a hard time reading a story and fully comprehending it.
Deputy Minister of Education Ntim Cudjoe indicated the GALLOP project has helped significantly in improving the literacy of students in the country.
Thanks to the support under GALLOP, a number of interventions under the GALLOP program was targeted at remediation programs post-COVID. So whilst COVID took a hit, learning losses were occasioned, but we had some interventions that addressed some remediation. So after that, in the year 2021, in December 2021, we did a national standardized test. The outcome of our national standardized test was that 54% of learners around the age of 10 are able to read proficiently at grade level. But 56% is not where we want to get to. We actually want to ensure that minimum, our strategic target is to ensure minimum 90% of learners at the age of 10 are able to read proficiently at grade level.
We saw two classrooms, B2 class and B3 class, and what I saw was a very, very engaged group of students with teachers with just excellent skills to keep the students learning, keep them motivated, building on each other, which was great. Going forward, we did ask the teachers if there was anything else that they felt they needed, and I think one thing that they very much appreciate more of is equipment like printers, to be able to print more documents in color, for example, as part of the teaching curriculum. And of course, as always, and I know that the Ministry of Education is paying attention to this, always the ratio of students to teacher, keeping it within reasonable numbers so that the teacher has time for all the students. But I have to say I saw a strong engagement and very good reading skills and comprehension skills.
Headmaster of Wejagbawe Municipal Assembly Basic 1 School, Bob John, said the Gallup project has improved teaching and learning in the school.
Currently, with the Ghana Education Service System, we are having teachers coming from our various colleges who have learned this form of skill in early childhood. And that's why when we come, we make sure that the creativity aspect of our classrooms enable the children to pick the learning from there.
At least 2.9 students have benefited from the Gallup project. Esther Nkroma's report read to you.
Now, a Kumasi High Court did not take the plea of a police inspector standing trial for the alleged murder of his girlfriend at Idum in Kumasi, as lawyers for the accused failed to show up in court. Inspector Ahmed Chumesi, also known as Tycoon, was appearing before the High Court for the first time after an Asokore Mampong District Court committed him for trial last month. The inspector, accused of shooting his girlfriend Victoria Dapa, a mother of one, multiple times with a police service rifle, has been charged with murder by the Attorney General. Ohiming Tewia, who has been on this beat, has more in this report.
The
hearing didn't go the way we expected. I was the only woman among the relatives, including our family head and 3 other men. We were just 5 available in court. I'll plead with you journalists to continue following the case for us. People say this case won't go anywhere.
These
were the words of a disappointed relative of 27-year-old Victoria Dapa, also known as Majwa. The mother of one was allegedly murdered by her boyfriend, Inspector Ahmed Chumesi of the Central Police Command in Kumasi. Victoria was shot 6 times on April 20, 2023. The accused person was last month committed to stand trial at the Kumasi High Court on murder charges slapped on him by the Attorney General. Inspector Ahmed Chumesi, also known as Tycoon, made his maiden appearance on Thursday before the Kumasi High Court, presided by Justice Rosemary Batusu. But the hopes of scores of relatives of the deceased to witness proceedings were dashed when sitting started earlier than anticipated. The court was, however, forced to adjourn because counsel for the accused, Ernest Aye, did not show up. This also means the plea of the accused could not be taken. The court's attempt to empanel a jury for the trial of the police inspector had to be put on hold. Some disappointed relatives continue to agitate for speedy adjudication to serve the deceased and her family with justice.
As a mother, I ask for justice for Majwa, who left behind a 3-year-old daughter. For the sake of this small girl, justice should prevail. This case is in the interest of all women. Justice served is justice for all women.
Meanwhile, hearing has been scheduled for July 26, 2023 at 12 noon. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ohimintiria reporting.
Now, the Municipal Chief Executive for the Upper Dentra East has commended Adom FM and TV's anchor Anochiwaba Ajuasewa for helping young girls in his municipality combat period poverty. His commendation follows the donation of sanitary pads by Anochiwaba's Anoba Foundation. The foundation, through an initiative dubbed the Sanitary Project, solicited funds from benevolent Ghanaians home and abroad to purchase and distribute sanitary products to young girls in underserved communities in the central region.
Don't have the financial wherewithal to purchase these pads. This birthed the idea for the Sanitary Project, an initiative by Anochiwaba Ajuasewa and her Anoba Foundation. The team, through the benevolence of others, has donated sanitary pads to girls in the Upper Dentra East Municipality. Municipal Chief Executive for the area, Ebenezer Forson Apia, commended the team for this project.
We are grateful to Anoba Foundation for this wonderful gesture that they have done to the schools in Upper Dentra East, Emisa Chrome, KPK, Poku Chrome, Isikuma and Merichoso. In fact, the girls are really, really grateful to you for this wonderful gesture. In fact, this sanitary pads, which has been distributed to the girls, is going to help the girls in a very long way. And we all know the issues which comes with menstruation and its complications and all of that. And sometimes the girls even feel shy to even tell their parents. Sometimes parents who have issues with purchasing these pads for their kids, and it becomes a problem. Some even stay out of school because of this issue. And so this distribution, which has been done to them, is in line and it's very good, and I know it's going to impact the girls positively.
Head teachers of Amisa and Poku Chrome JHS were delighted by this gesture.
I'm so glad this morning. I and my staff, we are so glad this morning. Anoba Foundation to visit our school to share this sanitary pad to the children. We are so grateful this morning, and we give thanks to the Lord, and we give thanks to Anoba Foundation.
But we thank Anoba Foundation so much for the good work that you've done for Poku Chrome number 1 MABC school. In fact, we did not know that Poku Chrome number 1 MABC school will be taken into account in situations like this. And I believe and hope that this will go a long way to help the children as well as the parents. We thank Anoba Foundation so much.
Team lead for the sanitary project, Anochiwaba Ajuasewa, shares why her team embarked on the sanitary project.
Being a people's teacher, it was commonplace to come across students who miss classes just because it's that time of the month. And that's the reason for this foundation. We solicited for funds and the foundation added up. We got some sanitary pads, plenty cartons, and we're moving to 5 schools. And we are sharing to each student from JHS 1 to JHS 3. This is to help them with their menstrual hygiene and to help them out with these sanitary pads so that they can at least do it well, look hygienic, and then protect them from any future occurrences. So thank you so much, Ghana. Thank you, everybody who sends a CD, a PESWA, to help this project.
In all, 5 schools benefited from the maiden edition of the sanitary project. They are Amisa MA Basic, Poku Chrome MA, Merichoso MA, Esikuma MA, and Kwame Pre-Chrome MA schools. Anoba Foundation will replicate the sanitary project across the country in coming months.
And it's on that note of giving that we cap off the news. But do stay with us. The news review is up next. Welcome back on the show. We get into the newspapers. We're going to slice and dice, serve you some pizza with the news review this morning. And as always, it's brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Just locate them here in Accra, in the Greater Accra region. Well, there are 2 spots. Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's also Tema Community 22. But then there is in Kumasi, Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji Estate. Then there's Techiman Hanso and Esiama and Zama. You'd like to call them. I suggest you do. The numbers are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review. And of course, you know, when I get this excited, then it means my brother from another mother is here. Say what?
Yep.
You know, throughout this week, for a few days now, I even started the show with it the other day. There are some circumstances that are difficult for me right now.
Okay.
That I am facing. But for about 3 days, in fact, I was playing this song and I sang it on air before starting the show. I've forgotten whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday, but it's just got my heart. I don't know. I'm so full of gratitude.
Okay.
Can you guess the song? All right. So I'll see whether you'll be able to give me backing vocals.
Is it nice?
Yeah, when Yamibia.
Ontunko now, no. Or let me CCTV.
Even if I walk through the valley of death,
I know the fear.
Every day be jagai. I don't know, for days. You know, sometimes your spirit just for days.
Yeah.
It happened to me about 3 days ago, yesterday. Today too, when I woke up, the song was still. Sometimes your soul is just grateful. Grateful. And it's enveloped me and I had to share with you. It's not that my life is perfect. It's not that everything is. In fact, never be a cause in Unimanka. But I just have this gratitude within. Like the Bible says, thank God. In all things. It doesn't say something. All things.
Maybe I think probably our spirit are sinking. Because you know what? When I woke up this morning, I said today when I come here, I probably have to say something. You know, yesterday a young guy, I posted something and a young guy commented that, but it's difficult to thank God when things are not going right for you. And then it occurred to me to tell the young guy that don't assume that because someone is smiling, everything is right with the person. That is not the case. Sometimes, I know people whose salary, 2/3 of that go to pay debt. So they only have 1/3.
Nowadays, it is very common with the bank, the stuff that happened with the banks, the DDEP, and then the inflation, monetary policy tweaking. And you know, they also tweaked their rates. Trust me, it's a killer.
And you know, this one, let me bring it here. Sometimes I don't want to say it, but sometimes when you say it, it motivates people. Look, because of my own business decisions in the past, when I take my salary, 2/3 of that goes to pay for debt. And myself and my family rely on the 1/3 of it.
Bro, you are not alone.
You
are not alone.
So I want people to know that sometimes when you see people smiling, it doesn't mean that 100% is all right. No.
In fact, I am in a similar soup. And you know, sometimes people see you on air or they feel, look, some of these costumes are given to us. Some of these are given to this one, for example, that I am using today was gifted to me. Mrs. Eshen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for being so gracious. But she gifted this to me, I think many years ago. I don't know whether it was my birthday or something, but she gifted it anytime I work with people. So you will see me in this and think, why shepherd? Charlie, don't be so.
So you and I've recently realized that when you give thanks to God, it opens up bigger doors.
It opens doors.
So it doesn't mean that you have to be okay for you to say, Father, thank you. No. You always have to thank Him in everything you are in. Probably you are out of school, you have not been employed, and you don't see any source of thanking God. You know what? Thank God because you even have life. And as you thank Him, He will be like, wow, this is my son. I haven't done a lot for him, but he's thanking me. It opens doors for you. So look, in everything.
God has done a lot for everybody. He wouldn't even say He hasn't done a lot because the mere fact that you are alive. Look, this yesterday, I was devastated. A former colleague of mine in another media house, okay, he was with our social media team and all of that. I woke up in the morning and I was going through my social media. I saw something there, but I actually thought it was his birthday. Apparently, later, then I saw the thread on my Facebook. People were tagging me and all of that. The guy is gone. I don't even know whether he was up to 35 years. You know, there are so many young people. I met one of our ace producers here today. I shook his hand and I told him, Charlie, so why? God bless you and all of that. Because nowadays, and I asked him to take care of himself because nowadays a lot of young people, young, vibrant, look, this guy, young, steady, healthy. So, look, what's sorry?
Yeah, no,
I know we may be going on and on.
Yeah.
You want us to get into the papers, but trust me, maybe this is a message for someone.
For someone,
out there.
yeah.
Don't take these little things for granted. Someone can't speak like I'm speaking now.
Yeah. Someone is not even up like we are. You know, so give thanks in everything and things will be fine. Don't think that you want to make the millions before.
Yeah.
In your current circumstance, give thanks to him and things will be fine.
Anyway.
And that reminds me that I saw a thread also in Takrady of a young guy. He's called Aqua. I've forgotten the first name. Everybody was talking about him. Apparently this guy, I saw him like 2 weeks ago. Then
wow.
Just this week, I hear he's passed on. I was like, wow. So yeah, like you said, we need to appreciate the life we even have to give thanks. Yeah.
There's this story. I don't know whether it's, I'm saying story, song. I don't know whether it's by Don Moen or one of those. Give thanks
to the holy.
Exactly. I'll look for that song today. Yeah. I'll add it. Let me note it down. Give thanks song. Yeah. I feel thankful today. Thankful.
Yeah.
Very thankful. Anyway, so let's get into the papers. Which ones do you have? I have the Finder and the Ghanaian Publisher. Which
I have the Daily Guide and the New Crusading Guide.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so from the Daily Guide, Akufo-Addo eulogizes Ama Ata Edu, and it comes with a picture of the president standing beside the coffin of the late Professor Ama Ata Edu. Now, Apex Court decides Street Kids Fate November. That story is on page 3. We'll get into it. We, in court, now legal under license. But I think that we have to do this education. I'm told that what Parliament, gave the permission for is not the we.
I don't know why some papers and others are capturing it in a certain way because it could amount to misinformation or even disinformation.
Exactly. So we shouldn't be.
It's for industrial
purposes
and medicinal purposes. And there are, for example, epileptic patients. There are ways through which some of these oils can be used to aid them. People with a certain spectrum of disease. But it's not the one you will go and buy. And you try that one, if they grab you, don't come and say that.
We did an explanation on the pulse yesterday. So it's not that we as we know. This is a different thing altogether. Cop found dead with bullet wound. Okay. Chinese galamsey suspect attempt suicide in prison. The New Crusading Guide on the front page says Ochihene calls for action on medical brain drain. Vote massively for humble, intelligent Bawumia, Isaac Osei urges. And NDC shameless theft of Dr. Sam Ankrah's campaign slogan lacks originality. The life and trials of a media tycoon. And is it Alan's time Bawumia will lead in 2030? Okay, so he says it is Alan's time Bawumia will lead in 2033. Richard Nyama and National Security Ministry refutes claims of forced repatriation. Commit to supporting displaced Burkina Faso refugees. So let me get into the Daily Guide newspaper and go into the details of the story. Now on the page 3 it says the Supreme Court will on November 22 this year decide whether or not the presence and plight of street children is constitutional and lawful. Now, a 7-member panel of the court is expected to give the judgment in a suit filed by a non-governmental organization, Child Rights International. The court will decide whether the plight of street children is a violation of Articles 25A, 28(1)A, D, 2, 3, 4, 13(1), and 37 of the 1992 Constitution. Led by the Executive Director, Bright Appiah, it is the case of CRI that the 1992 Constitution protects children, and therefore by allowing children to fall victims to streetism, the government was violating the children's constitutional right to education, health, human dignity, and denying them their social and economic rights. But my question probably will be, does it, extend to the children of foreign descent that we see them on the street or not. But from the reliefs, it says, streetism is used to describe children who live and work on the street due to lack of family ties, or worse still, stuck in manipulative relationships where their guardians use them to support the household financially through various activities on the street. The applicant, whose work seeks to protect and safeguard the social, educational, and constitutional rights of children, is asking the court for a number of reliefs and declarations. Okay. It is further seeking an order directed at the government for procedures related to school enrollment of children in street situations and their provision with the necessary didactic material, and also an order for government to submit to the court not later than 3 months from the date of final judgment a plan of action detailing all the steps, strategies, and measurable target by which the defendants undertake to obey and perform the orders contained in the reliefs the applicant is seeking. Anyway, this will be an interesting judgment that we'll all have to look out for. That will be on November 22 this year. It will be an interesting one for us to know what the state will do, in terms of all of the children we see on the street. Now, Parliament amended the Narcotic Control Commission Act of 2020, Act 1019, on Wednesday to allow the cultivation of, I'm not sure it is marijuana.
So there's been talk about cannabis.
Yeah, yes, and specifically from what we've seen from Parliament, it says industrial hemp.
Right.
So I don't know, but we've also been given.
I mean, the terms are being used all over the place in different ways,
and we should check it.
Yeah.
So this one says.
I mean, we don't work with Yoko. We are not experts on this, but at least I'm sure over time, sometimes when something is new like this, even the papers may get a few things wrong, or they may be right, but there are different variations of it. But we just need to check. Double check and ensure that what we're informing the people about is the right thing. And at least the most important thing we've clarified. And just like it's not been legalized. That's not it.
Because Nana Ajman has been on this tangent that it looks like the media is misinforming the people. They are not talking about weed. They are talking about industrial hemp. And we have to give it that way. It says until now, marijuana had been technically illegal with the use of plant for the processing or extraction without lawful authority, an offense under the law. The vote to permit professional cultivation of the plant with the issuance of licenses by the Minister of Interior will allow the country's pharmaceutical companies which use the plant for production of medicines and other beneficial use to have a legal source of supply. And yesterday, Nana was explaining that this can give us $1 billion every year.
But do you remember Busumuru Kofi Annan while he was alive?
Okay.
Oh yeah, he said something about this.
Oh, okay.
For those who want to, you can Google it. He spoke about the use of
industrial
this.
hemp.
Yes, and how much we could rake in as a country. I'm sure if we check, we would find it.
Because Najma was saying that even as we speak, people still illegally grow, and the government makes nothing from that. So once you say, let's go out, now you give the country the authority to then earn from what, people...
So don't go and use it in the ways that the law doesn't guarantee. No, even in some states in the US, there are specific ways it has to be used. But in this instance, industrially, there are uses for some things that may not be so good to ingest or may not be so good to put into your body, but it has industrial purposes. So why not capitalize on the industrial uses, which is what we're doing now.
Yeah, and Nana was explaining that this is of a content of 0.3%.
Yes, I think 0.03 or something. So
it means that
it's specific and it's the dry weighted form.
Exactly. So even if you do, it won't. And he was using like an alcohol, for example. If you take an alcohol of 5% alcohol, and this is 0.3 of it, how many bottles do you have to take before you get high?
Yeah, just them tasks.
But he said that this tree or this plant can help us recover the lands that have been destroyed, degraded, illegal mining.
Right.
He says this plant, within a number of years, can help us, recover all of those lands. And I was happy. I was like, wow. If that's the case, then
we need to fact check that. But if it turns out to be true, then that is an option we have. So that all this wasteland, we're able to use
an example of a country that had radiations from a certain community that led to the death of animals and human beings on that community.
Okay.
What the country did was to plant this industrial hemp around the community. And within a number of years, the radiation from research had been cleared to the barest minimum. And therefore it tells that we can do that. But so it's an interesting one. We need to watch this one. But let me bring in this cop who was found dead with bullet wounds. And let's see what the story is all about. It says that a police officer has been found dead with bullet wounds at a checkpoint in the Biatano forest in the Ahafo region. Now, the deceased, Sergeant Titus Avoka Azasiyande, was discovered in the early hours of Thursday, July 13, 2023, lying in a pool of blood with a service rifle beside him. The circumstances surrounding Sergeant Azasiyande's death remain unclear, while some suspect foul play pointing to the possibility of an unidentified assailant targeting him. Others have raised the speculation of suicide. Oh, that's a tragic one. Condolences to the family. Ben. So I think that will be all for the Daily Guide newspaper. For
all right.
Weekend Crusading Guide. Should I continue?
Go ahead.
Let me do the Ochihini on the medical brain drain. It says the Ochihini Osajofo Amweti of Orepening II has expressed concern over the rate of medical brain drain in Ghana. Speaking at the 2023 retreat for the Medical Superintendent Group in the Eastern Region under the theme Enhancing Hospital Management Systems for Improved Healthcare Delivery, the Ochihini opined that the phenomenon of medical personnel leaving the shores of Ghana in search of greener pastures on a daily basis have a devastating consequence on the nation's health system. Osajofo Amweti of Orepening hinted that in 2019, Ghana had about 3,236 medical doctors attending to a population of about 30 million, making the doctors-patient ratio far below any acceptable standards. So if we keep losing people, then the nation has to start thinking again, Ben, because I'm told that we're losing them in droves, and that is not good for a healthcare system.
Definitely not. But you know, when I engaged Umar Farouk, when the breakdown he gave us, how much he earns and what the value is in Ghana. Do you remember?
No.
So the 3,500 he makes as a basic nurse, band 5, the lowest you can earn is almost 50K.
Oh, 3,500 pounds.
But can you imagine that? 3,500 is almost like 50K, like 49K thereabouts.
Yeah. So the thing is that he would probably assume that, okay, I can send, say, about 500 pounds of that, or even 1,000 to this country. And
pay my taxes, pay for utilities, feed, and all of that.
And he sends that 1,000 to probably a family relation in this country to probably invest or save for him. That's 14,000, close to 15,000 in the bank every month for him. The year, he earns over $1 billion.
So a year would be... So
let's say 10,
150 will be 10, add another, so that's 180,000.
Yeah, for in the bank in Ghana. And he can do a lot. So I've been speaking to someone who says that, look, I'm here. I know that it's difficult here, but I'll do it because I know that I'll get something back home. So
that is why, you see, when we talk like this, we're not advocating that everybody leave. Because if they do, I mean, how will we get medical attention when we go? But it's to paint the real picture so that our policymakers will also look at the situation. Now, the other day when we interacted with the president of the GRNMA, he was talking about the fact that, look, we may not be able to meet what they are. This is a developed economy versus our developing economy. But their market premium, for example, can you deal with that? The car waivers, can you deal with that? It makes sense. So that some people are sacrificing to be in the system. But if after 10 years of sacrifice, you realize that the sacrifice is not sacrificing.
Because according to them, their market premium has stayed same since 2015. The car waivers that they could use to even import cars in has also been taken away. So all of these incentives, and again, they were even advocating for accommodation allowance, because people who serve in the rural communities, and they were given a breakdown of how much they spend on accommodation. Someone said that he spends 400 cedis or so on accommodation a month. How much is he earning? And all of these issues are something that government can consider to ensure that we retain some of these expertise in the country.
Well, it's one of the things I'll be talking about today in my blunt thoughts. I'll share the title with you, Cudjoe, at the end of it. But the Daily Graphic this morning, World Bank supports reforms with $900 million. First tranche expected in November. UGMC to establish unit for trial of medicine. Recently, someone who had been there told me, look, I went to Germany at a facility. I came to Ghana, the UGMC. Top notch. What the Germans couldn't do, UGMC did. I'm just waiting for that person's story, and I'm going to be sharing it with you. Police will play role in free elections. And you know, sometimes we bash certain medical facilities for the wrong things that happen. When the right things go on to, we must talk about them. Police will play role in free elections, IGP assures ECOWAS elections team. And there's also GPAC invests 3 million Ghana cedis in packaging equipment. So let's start from the start. The World Bank has finalized an agreement to support Ghana's reforms with $900 million. The support, which is under the Development Policy Operations for the period 2023 to 2025, is expected to front-load the first tranche to the country by November if Ghana is able to meet prior actions and present the first document to the World Bank Executive Board by the end of year. This was at a meeting with the World Bank Managing Director for Operations, Anna Biade, in Accra yesterday. Of course, our Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, was there. So IMF money, we're expecting about another 300 million. Looks like we're going to get quite a bit of money. But when we get sums of money like this, I don't get excited. It's not about how much is coming. It's about what we do with the money. Yes. And whether we'll even be able to meet the sort of requirements that will trigger those sums of money coming, because you look at how reckless we can be and have been with our resources, and sometimes it's not about, I mean, you can give a fool $1 billion. By the end of the year, that person may be penniless again. A fool, so to speak. And even the Bible says it, a fool and his money are soon parted. So I'm not suggesting that those in government are fools, but I'm saying that we have played the fool with the resources we keep getting.
I've seen the IMF's comment on the gains we've made so far, which probably could tell that.
I think the IMF's comments are hyped.
Well, but no, on their website, on their own website.
Yes, I've seen those comments.
Yeah, but that's what they are. What is not what they are going to? Is that not what they are going to base on to release their money?
That may be partially true, but I'm saying that the reality on the ground. We like talking about the macro. The micro is what really determines what happens with your people. Whether you're talking about human development, their quality of life, and all of that. Over time, our quality of life has been reducing. Look at the latest report. Look at multidimensional poverty. Look at real economic purchasing poverty and all of that. We are not getting better.
But as for the multidimensional, the expert explained that we are making progress, but it's at a very slow pace. If you look at over the years.
Do you know why that's problematic? Because while our progress is very slow, and while we have an SDG goal 1 target of 2030, we're already in 2023, we have just about 7 years left. Poverty and its other concomitant factors are growing at a faster rate than the progress. Do you get it? So we are not catching. In fact, we are getting worse, because poverty and others, lack of access to quality healthcare, utilities, feeding and others, quality of life, education. The progress there is higher than the gains we are making. That is the problem. It's not that we are not making any gains.
But as for education, I think we've made some progress, isn't it? Because the enrollment rate have.
You see, we like, once we think of free SHS and all of that, we have made some progress, but there are areas, very problematic areas, and the Kofi Asaris and the others often have said that, talk about them. But because of time, let's quickly walk through this. Police will play role in free elections. IGP assures elections team, of course. The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, and members of the Police Management Board, this story on page 13 of the Daily Graphic, have assured an ECOWAS network of electoral commissions, post-election follow-up team, that the police will play its role to ensure free and fair elections. Of course, that leaving the Daily Graphic, that feeds into this conversation, Cudjoe. The Finder. Backbin sets up 7-member committee to probe leaked IGP tape. And there's an NDC MP who has said that, look, if you are not afraid of anything, why all the hullabaloo about... Let the investigation go on, and let's see what happened. LGBTQ is evil and abominable to our values. National House of Chiefs says so. That story is on page 5. And the National House of Chiefs has served notice that it would not countenance activities of the LGBT community as custodians of the traditions and customs of the people. Pictured there, of course, the President, Ojiahoho Yaljibi, the second President, National House of Chiefs. Ghana will forever be grateful to Professor Edu. You've already mentioned that. My own grandma, and at 83, may her soul rest in perfect peace. IJM police falsely branding kids as trafficking victims. BBC African Eye says so. Now, the Ghanaian publisher, I'll have you react to some of these, Cudjoe, and then we'll go. National Security refutes forced repatriation claim. And there's profiling different from moving or repatriating the people. So there are different dynamics in there. You can grab a copy of the paper. Your application is frivolous, court tells Captain Smart in a Sensubachi defamation case. And Afenyo Markin leads MPs to visit Gomwa and the Futu chiefs. What do you make of the investigation into the IGP's thing? What do you make of the LGBT conversation? And then
I think for the IGP, it's important we look into it because, look, we had certain things in the tape or on the tape that we
very troubling.
Yeah, that we need to come clear on. So it's good we're going to investigate it. I hope that we do get to the bottom of it very quickly, and then we can come up with some recommendations that would really help us deal with this matter. For nobody else will also conceive the idea of doing the things that we had on the tape. Really. As for the LGBT, well, the law would have to deal with it. Once our parliament says that we want to do Ghana is a sovereign country.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so two things I'll leave you with, you, Cudjoe, and everyone else. My blunt thoughts today, I've titled it, Poverty, Peace, and Prestige, Ghana's Unprecedented Pratfall. Poverty, Peace, and Prestige, Ghana's Unprecedented Pratfall. And since we started on a thankful note, I found the quote I was looking for. I knew it was from 1 Thessalonians, but where exactly, I had to go check.
Okay.
1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus.
Amen.
Amen.
That's the word of God.
That is. On that note, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us to bring you this segment. They're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Where can you locate them? Across Pentex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Tema Community 22. There's also Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Enzima. Of course, there's Takrade Anaji Estate as well. If you'd like to call them, the numbers are 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And my producer now, shooting me a few things. We're going into sports, and today we speak to Robert Coleman, CEO of Wembley Sports Construction Limited. He rolled out the initiative of AstroTurf's construction about 7 years ago. Today he shares his journey with us on Prime Take. Up next.
What's up?
We did.
Wembley.
Yes.
How did you come by the name Wembley?
Thank you very much, Gustavo. The whole concept started when we decided to have the name Wembley because we want to connote football. Everybody knows Wembley in the UK. Okay. Wembley is a solid sports stadium. So we decided that, look, why don't we get the name Wembley in order to connote football? And that's how come we started with Wembley, because we were very mindful of the fact that it is a new concept that we have started. And with such a concept, certainly you must be able to get people to rally or people to support the whole project, buy their idea to resonate with people. So we decided to just get a name that is catchy, that will connote football, and that's how come we decided to register the name Wembley Sports Construction Company Limited. Yes.
Did you visit Wembley in the UK?
No. At that time, I had not even gone there. All that I see is on TV. So just recently, when I traveled, and I said, "Oh, let me go and have a feel of the sports stadium over there." When I went there, I was surprised. I said, "Oh, okay, so this is a Wembley," and that's what we are trying to replicate in Ghana. But at that time, I have not been there before. I normally see football being played there. But just recently, I decided to go there, go and have a feel of the place. And it is a magnificent sports stadium.
And you're also doing a magnificent job. But how was the genesis like?
Oh, okay. So it started like you indicated, some 7 years ago. I was by then working for Zoom Lion as the communications manager over there. I was also in charge of Greater Accra when it comes to operations. I decided that, look, it is high time that I take a bow from working for Zoom Lion and do something for myself. So I thought about the idea of why don't I enter into football infrastructure development. So we went to Jowulu to go and play football. At that time, there was a small football pitch that has been constructed by one young man called Mohammed, one Lebanese young man. So when we went there, we contributed 5 CDs, 10 CDs, and then we came together, we paid, and then we played football on that particular turf. So I told my colleagues and my friends that, look, we can also replicate what we have here in Kotobabi. So that is how come that we decided, or I brought 1 or 2 guys together, and I said, look, I will want to do such a thing in Kotobabi so that we don't have to migrate all the way to Jowulu to come and play. At that time, I wanted to resign from Zoom Lion. My boss was reluctant, said I should stay a bit. So I sponsored about 2 or 3 guys, no, 2 guys to Turkey to go and understudy the construction of the AstroTurf. Subsequently, I also took a trip there and met with them, and then we studied how come they are constructing, or what is the processes involved, or the technicalities involved. Don't forget that when you bring people from outside to come and develop these AstroTurfs or construct or do the installation, certainly the cost involved is very huge. Their hotel bills, they will charge you in foreign currency and all that. So we decided that, look, let's go and learn the technology and then transfer the technology here. So the first one we did in Kotobabi, we actually brought a foreign person to come and help us in the construction. So after the construction, 10 of us engaged the consultant, and then we decided that we need to learn. So he was also very willing because of the contract we signed with them. And then we were trained. Then came Asamoah Gyan, came to play on the football together with Adebayo. When they saw the quality of what we have done, then Asamoah, you know, I was in Accra with him. At that time, Asamoah's lawyer was today's special prosecutor, Kisi Ejabin, and we were all friends. So we came together with his manager, who played a tremendous role. That is Sami Enimado, played a tremendous role. Then we decided that, look, let's do what we have done in Kotobabi in Accra Academy. So we did one in Accra Academy, and everybody was excited about it. Then
I was there for the commissioning of that one.
Yes, I remember His Excellency, the former president, rest in peace, graced the occasion, and he was there to witness it. So that is how come the whole thing started. Then comes His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in 2016 when he was campaigning. One of the things he said was that every constituency, they were going to have $1 million, every district 1 dam, every district 1 factory. So I came out with the fact that, look, we need to also get some funding in order to get AstroTurfs across the length and breadth of the country. And what I did was to get some 2 young guys. I commissioned them to go across the length and breadth of the country to look at the dilapidated football pitches that we have, the gravel football pitches. We counted over 5,200 and something pitches, that is grassless pitches. Then I said, look, the market is big, let us sell the idea. So the first person we sold the idea to was the former Minister for Inner Cities and Zongo's Development, Honorable Boniface. No, Boniface.
Oh, okay.
It was later that
Boniface.
Yes, so Boniface came. Boniface saw the idea and he was excited about it. Then he said, okay, let's start with 3. So we started with Madina, we started with Chebi, then we started with Wali Wali. Don't forget that because of the processes that we use in doing the AstroTurf, you can use it for a lot of purposes. Funerals, you can use it for parties. Our Muslim brothers, like your good self, can just come and pray on it. The crusade, when you go to Ajingano, that is what they normally use it for. You don't have to bring your lights and all that because it's also fitted with floodlights and all that. And one of the things we wanted to change was that when you look at Ghana, or when you look at the football terrain. In the evening, people don't play football. But you go to the advanced countries, you see people playing football at night.
As past
9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and all that. But here, when it is 6 o'clock, everybody will go to bed. So we needed to we needed to provide flat lights so that people can play football. So that's how come we started with Madina, Chebi, and Wali Wali. And when the president was invited to commission the one at Madina, I was extremely excited about it. But let me tell you something significant that we did. We decided that, look, we want to challenge ourselves. So based on the training that we acquired from the Turkish who came to train us, we said, look, we want to invite FIFA to come and check the quality of the grass that we have done. So in so doing, we bought the grass from a FIFA preferred producer, Hatco. So we did the installation, and when we're doing the installation, they sent FIFA reps to come and make sure that what we were doing was very right. That is how come that we were able to get a certificate on that particular page.
So you have a certificate from FIFA?
Certainly, and I say that with humility and a lot of pride, that Wembley Sports Complex is the only local-based
pitch construction company?
Yes, that has been able to submit itself to FIFA to validate what we have done, and the certificate is there. So Madina, I know that Madina, when you talk about quality, it is the size that people were talking about, but in terms of quality, people normally forget that FIFA, even though you have to get the perimeters and the size right, certainly the quality, the bouncy nature of the football, how when you kick the ball, it will move and all that, they take all those things into consideration. They brought a lot of instruments, and that's how come we have a certificate for that. And I always say that it is by the grace of God that we have gotten to where we are now.
So can we say from a baller communication officer to a chief executive officer of one of the most famous facilities construction companies?
Certainly. You know, there's a lot of training that I had from my boss, and let me pay homage to him, Dr. Joseph Sian Japan, the chief executive of Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. It's one particular person that when you work with for a week and you are unable to learn his traits the way he does his things, then I think there's a problem with you. So let me pay homage to him. He played a tremendous role in terms of supporting the advice and all that. Yes, and when I was in Zoom Lion, I also made a lot of friends. So that's how come that I was able to migrate from Zoom Lion, and then I entered into football infrastructure development, and this is where the Lord has brought us.
He should be proud of seeing you, isn't
it? Certainly. Almost every time when I meet him, he's always excited about it, and he always supports me, giving me advice. I remember the last time I had one contract and I was short of funds and I needed to go to him, and immediately, because of the relationship that I have with him and because of the good works that I did when I was at Zoom Lion, he didn't hesitate, decided to support me. Don't forget that aside the support, the advice and all that, he has given me 3 different projects to do for him. We did one at Sunyani for a friend of his. We did one for his wife, the AIS, the American International School. That one we have the basketball and all those things fitted around it.
And that's more of a multi-purpose facility?
Yes, a multi-purpose facility. And now we are doing one for the good people of Teshin, being sponsored by himself, a very small pitch, a 7-a-side for the young boys to play. So I always say that yes, God makes people, but God uses people to bless others. And there's absolutely no day that I will pray and I will not pray for that man. I hold him high esteem, and it's one particular person that I can ascribe, or I can say that has helped me a lot to where I am today.
You mentioned something quite interesting. You said you commissioned 2 people to go and learn. Were you part of those 2 people?
No, the first 2 people went without my good self because I had some work to do.
So you decided to educate people?
Yes. At that time,
what influenced that?
Certainly, I knew that I would go, but I was also mindful of the fact that, look, I would not be involved in the day-to-day installation or the construction.
Yeah.
And certainly you need people to go and learn. So as chief executive, I should be able to have a broad knowledge of what they are doing. But certainly you need 2 people to go and understudy and then come. Yes.
Eye.
So when they went there, they did a lot of installation of pitches, about 6 or 7 pitches before they came to Ghana with the Turkish to come and do the one at Kotobabi. At that time, I had also joined them for about 3 or 4 weeks there. We came back and then we did the installation here. And today, AstroTurf is a household name.
How would you describe the journey?
Oh, very tough, because I remember when we started with this concept, we had a lot of challenges, especially with the Kotobabi one. There was a lot of brouhaha. People were saying we were constructing a drinking spot. People were saying that we have brought Turkish to come and invade the premises of the school and all that. People didn't understand the concept because it was a novelty. Yeah, it was something that is not known.
Yeah.
For example, if you go to Togo, the last time I went to Togo, there's only one AstroTurf there, and then the size is just 7-a-side football pitch in the whole of Togo. You understand? So it was something that people didn't understand. I remember when we started, I needed funds from the bank, and I applied to some of the banks. They gave money. And when there was this problem all over, the media went there, the AMA boss, Honorable Alfredo Okovandapo was extremely upset. We decided to hold on to the project. We had to go and do a lot of presentation before they understood what we were coming to do. We called the people in Kotobabi, and then we did a presentation to them at Deba. Well, we were able to. So when we finished and they saw that, oh, is it what you have done? They were all excited about it.
It was even meant to help us.
Yes.
But they didn't understand.
Initially, they didn't understand. But it was all meant for good. I didn't see the reportage as any negative thing, because at the end of the day, it sold out the concept.
Yeah.
In communications, you may think that you are doing something reprehensible against somebody, but by the time you see, it has come out well. So a lot of media people, I was not paying media people to come and look at what I was doing. Almost every day, there's an avalanche of media people trooping to Kotobabi. Hey, what are you people doing? And then it became a household name. They say, so. And then when we finished and we commissioned it, I remember the former mayor came there. Then Elvis Efri Ankra was also at the Ministry of Local Government.
Oh, okay.
He also certified some of our documentations. We needed to review it, and then it all went well. We came and then we commissioned it. But when His Excellency the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, took over because of the $1 million when we sold the idea, I am always grateful to this government, because I believe strongly, yes, the NDC government started it. We hold them in high esteem. But if the government has not bought into the idea of the AstroTurf, certainly the NDC will not be there to continue. It will fizzle out. Yeah. So I hold this and the current president himself we are extremely grateful to him. The last time we commissioned the Alajo AstroTurf, you know the Alajo AstroTurf, Alajo is a very swampy area.
Oh, okay.
And when it rains, it drizzles, you can't even play on that pitch. But we have been able to change the whole of Alajo grassless pitch into an AstroTurf. And today when it rains, they don't have any problem. I remember when the commissioning was being done, His Excellency the President called me, and he was excited and congratulated us for doing a good work. And we can always dock our hats out for him for supporting this particular concept.
Would you say that the early days where there was negative press about it also helped in creating awareness of the company?
That is exactly the point I'm making.
So it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. So those days you don't even have to do any publicity on it, because I remember Bernard Avile will call me. I'll get calls from Cudjoe. Cudjoe Upon Krumah was by then in charge of the Super Morning Show. So you had all the big stations calling. And people were saying that we've taken over the school park, drinking sport and all that. So I was like, in the morning, you see Chrissy Pratt and Randy Abe, they will be in the studio of Metro TV discussing it. Those who understood it were passing very good comments about it. Those who also didn't understand, then I have to always come in and understand. So you see, when we finish and people came there, they saw what we have done, and then they were convinced that, look, you people were right and we were wrong.
What have been the major challenges?
Oh, certainly the major challenges has to do with funding. Yes, funding is a major challenge because it is a concept we are running. We are pushing an agenda. The agenda is that every constituency in this country should be able to have one AstroTurf.
So you also coined your own agenda?
Certainly, because His Excellency the President gave the
one district,
one factory.
One district, $1 million. So we have one district, one AstroTurf.
Thank you very much. So no, we were doing one constituency.
One constituency.
So
okay.
You remember, I even went to Parliament to do a presentation to the Parliamentary Select Committee on sports. And I invited them to Accra Academy. They came in their numbers, about 17, 18 of them came in their numbers to come and see what we have done. So it is something that we started that people don't know the history about. It is not as if you were there and one day you were called to come and do it. You understand? We went through a huge procedure, talking to people, doing presentations and all that. And one of the things that really motivated my good self is the fact that His Excellency the President said he was sending $1 million to every constituency. I said, hey, how?
Let me go and get some.
Let me also tap some. So that's how come we push the agenda. Yes, and today I'm very happy to say that a lot of constituencies, they have these AstroTurfs. Other companies or corporate bodies are also getting involved. This nice edifice you see here was funded by Ghana Gas, and it is a standard football pitch, 70 by 100, that any football international match can be played. Yes, because the normal size or the minimum is supposed to be 64 by 96. So this is very big enough, and that's what Ghana Gas has done. And they've done a lot. We are talking about GPHA. They've also done GMPC. They've also done some. So I believe that it is the fact that we knew that we needed to tap into the concept that the president was running, and that's how come we are here. So the challenge...
You find solution for where there's a challenge.
Certainly.
And you benefit from that.
Thank you very much.
So now talk to me about the technology and the quality of standards of these pitches.
Certainly. Let me say that the technology is a very simple one, but you need to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure you follow the system or the lay-down process meticulously. If you are unable to do that, you are not going to have a good pitch. So you come to the field, you look at the topography or what we call the morphology of the land.
Now we are learning English. Topography and morphology.
It's the small geography I did in Lagos.
Topography, and I'm not done a bit of English too. Talk about morphemes and all that.
Yes. I remember when I did geography, there was this teacher, tutor, who taught us about the topography or the morphology of the ocean floor. So once in a while, I use it and I remember it. So you look at the topography of the land, and then you make sure that all unwanted materials, you excavate them, the clay, the debris that you don't want. You talk about, how do you call it? You talk about metals, glass, and all those things. You need to remove them. Then you have a very flat land, after which you do your caps. You make sure that where you are going to place your mesh, you have it right. Then comes the actual earthworks that must be done. And you see, people don't know that a lot of stones are placed under the AstroTurf. So sometimes when we start, they don't understand. That's how come we had challenges in Kotobabi. Because how come that you want to do a football pitch and you are bringing stones? You understand? They don't understand. But that is the process. After that, you bring your laterite. Then you compact it. You use the grader, earth-moving equipment. You use your grader. You grade it nicely. Then you get your levels right. After which you start bringing your 25 mm stones. You bring it, you fill the whole place up to a particular level. And those levels are our trump card, so we don't say it on air, because it is what makes Wembley different from other companies. Yes. So you bring it to a certain level, then you do your pipe works. And Muftau, the pipe works, you have to make sure you do it well, so that when it rains, the water would drain into the chambers without you having any problem.
Oh, okay.
So what people don't do is that, look, after the gravels, they don't also do it to the required levels. They just put the pipes don't slope well, the chambers are blocked, so when it rains, water doesn't flow. But Wembley, what we do is that after we've done the pipes works, we then bring the 10mm stones. We put about 40 trips of an articulated track, 40, to come and level the whole place. Then, if it doesn't rain, we have to go and get tankers to come and put water on it. Then we'll be able to check the flow of the water. That's how come most of our pitches, you don't have water, any stagnant water on it. So you need to do all those things before then you lay the grass, after which you introduce what we call the silica or the river sand. You make sure you also get the levels. We have instruments in checking. Then you bring your SBR, which is the granules, and the SBR is made up of old car tires and all that. Come and put it on it, and then you check the levels, you check the flow, and then you do what we call the normal spraying. Sometimes you spray the page, you make sure that everything is done well, and then you are good to go.
So this surface is sprayed or something?
No, we spray against maybe termites and all that. Okay. But these ones are already produced, and when they come, you just need to put glue under, then you join them together, then you cut your white lines and all that. So there are instruments that we use. So most of these white lines that you see, they were not produced like that in
okay, so you do them here?
Yes, we do. No, we don't manufacture it. We buy it and we bring it. But in terms of the installation and the measurement, we do it ourselves. But you see, one significant point that people don't know is that if you are constructing an AstroTurf football pitch and you want to use it for national matches, you have to make sure that you buy your grass from a FIFA preferred producer.
Is that where you buy from?
Certainly. When you go to the FIFA website, CC Grass is FIFA #1 preferred producer. So we don't buy our grass. I went to China myself, sat down with CC Grass, and then we had an agreement to make sure that they do the production for us. So there's absolutely no way I will go to a wayside or any company in any country to go and buy my grass. I buy from CC Grass. I have receipts to that effect. I have documentations to that effect. The only grass I bought was from Hatco, and Hatco is also a FIFA preferred producer. Then we have Greenfield. They have stages. So we have FIFA preferred producers, and then we have the normal producers. So I buy from FIFA preferred producer. That's a CC Grass. FIFA is #1.
So how much does it cost to buy one?
Oh, certainly it is. The cost depends on the square meters. Okay. They don't do it in rows. So, for example, if this park is about 1,000 square meters or 2,000 square meters, certainly they will give you the cost per square meter. So if you want to do a big football pitch, certainly the cost implication is huge. So most of the companies sell between $15, $18 a square meter. So you can imagine the cost. That's how come the AstroTurf currently, the cost implication is gone up, because we don't produce it here. And we get all these things from either Turkey or China. And don't forget, the dollar rate currently is high. I remember when we were last year, most of us, we were even going to be out of business. So we needed to raise a lot of variations, because if the major component and almost all the components you are using, the lights, for example, the mesh, for example, and all your electricals and the grass itself together with the SBR is coming from outside, and the dollar moves from 4.8 or around 5 point something to 15, certainly, then yes. So we needed to raise some concerns with some of the people we have contracts with, and some of them acceded to our request and gave us something. That's how come we are continuing.
So talk to me. There are three things that are pretty important to me. And I think one of them definitely will also have to be, I don't know if it's a challenge or it is a plus. Because I do recall that you have a team, right?
Certainly.
And some people walked away to also set up their own company. How did you feel about that?
Oh, I'm a human being. These are people that I have trained and I looked up to them to support me in whatever we were doing. But you see, I believe that in life, certainly we need to move on with life. It's a concept that I brought. I am happy. The last time Mirror celebrated me that I'm the king of AstroTurf. I am extremely touched by that. I am humbled when I go somewhere and people ascribe AstroTurf to me. For example, if you are in Ghana and your refuse in your house has not been picked, sometimes you even say it is Zoom Lion who has not been there to pick, not knowing that maybe there's
you
another
have not asked them to come and take.
Yes.
Yeah.
But because Zoom Lion is a household name, you understand. You are reading a newspaper, somebody asks you, what are you reading? Graphic. Meanwhile, you are holding a Daily Guide. That should tell you the mark that Graphic has made. So it's become a household name. And I take glorification, and I take anytime people talk about AstroTurf, I'm excited. Muftau, I always say that it is not about competition. It is not about competition. It is about completion. To complete and competition is different. The agenda I am selling is that let every constituency have one AstroTurf. We have 275 constituencies. How many of them? We go to Okankwe South. Just recently, they had one, Awudome. Okankwe North, yes, they have. What about Osuklote constituency? What about other constituencies? A lot of MPs.
So how many have you constructed so far?
So far, I can say that per what we have constructed together with other private ones, we are talking about 65, 70 thereabout that we have managed to construct. And we have other projects also in the pipeline that we are doing. So these are people that I train. I don't have anything against them. All that I can say is that they should know that quality should always drive the agenda. And I always say that if out of the 5,000 and something football pitches, if government should call Wembley and say, oh, can you come and do, or we are not in the position to do it, we should be able to get other contractors to do it. So, and I'm always excited when I see people that I have trained also progressing in life. After all, how much are we going to eat for you to be selfish and say you want everything? I'm always excited for them.
But was it a difficult moment for you?
Yes, because I had projects at that time and they left unceremoniously. Their leaving was not done in such a manner that we could hand over and all that. But one thing that really helped me was that even though we had some, in the organogram that we had, they were on top. The young ones beneath them were also understanding them. You understand? So immediately they went. I needed to quickly put them together, ask somebody to come from, how do you call it, outside to come and engage them quickly, train them more. And today they've taken over. As I speak to you now, most of them, all the pitches that we are doing, Hohoi, for example, they are doing very well there. You go to, how do you call it, Asinov, they are there.
So now, do you have a plan in place so that when people leave unceremonious, so you wouldn't be
certainly.
badly hit?
As for now, I don't have that problem.
Okay.
One thing that I have managed to do and I've learned out of that is that every constituency that we go, we engage the people over there and we train them. So we leave our mark there and then they do the maintenance. So if we need to do another football pitch within that particular region, we engage them and then we go. So now
then you're providing job opportunities even for the people.
Certainly. And one other thing that I have also decided to do as the chief executive is to make sure that anytime the installation is going to be done, I will be there myself to supervise and make sure that it has been done and done well. So we are good to go.
Top of the morning to you, Ghana 4. It's that time of the day, that time of the show, where I share with you my blunt thoughts. And this morning I've titled it, Poverty, Peace, and Prestige, Ghana's Unprecedented Pathfall. Poverty, Peace, and Prestige, Ghana's Unprecedented Pathfall. I've been talking about a number of issues, about 3 or 4 of them that are pertinent currently and will continue to be pertinent. But I'd like to start off by quoting Trinidadian journalist George Padmore, one of Nkrumah's closest advisors, who singled out how Kwame Nkrumah and the Convention People's Party offered a new form of political leadership that was centered on, quote, I want you to listen, Ghana 4, the plebeian masses, the urban workers, artisans, petty traders, market women, and fishermen, the clerks, the junior teachers, and the vast farming communities of the rural areas. That was what Nkrumah in the 50s and 60s focused on. And those are the very aspects of our economy that hold up this economy that we should be focusing on. But ask yourself, how is the petty trader faring today? The market woman, the fisherman, the clerk, the junior teacher, the nurse. We were told nurses are suffering, teachers are suffering, even media people are suffering. And then, what are we going through? Let's think as a people, even as we gear up towards 2024. And that is the trajectory I wanted to start because Nkrumah focused on the very essentials, the bare bones of our economy. But look at us today. It brings me to my first slide. Exodus of nurses, salary paid, too small. Now, quoting Dr. David Tenkran-Chum, General Secretary of the GRNMA, no nurse or midwife is bonded here in Ghana. You remember we had an interaction with the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, who was also making mention of the fact that these nurses were bonded. They are no longer bonded. So no nurse or midwife is bonded here in Ghana. Bonding of nurses ceased after the cancellation of allowances in 2015 and 2016. So the nurses and midwives in Ghana would want to stay and serve their country, but what is paid to them as a salary is nothing to write home about. You remember when I had that interaction with Umar Farouk? He earns about £3,500. Do you know how much that is in Ghanaian cedis? Almost 50,000, around 49,000 cedis. Now, why would that not be a draw for someone, patriotic though he may be, to leave the shores of Ghana? Now, we want them to stay because if they don't stay, who will treat me when I go to the hospital? Who will attend to me? So we want them to stay. While we may not be making that unfair comparison between the UK and Ghana, their market premiums, the car waivers they want, why can't we do that? Instead of the luxurious cars, the vehicles, the V8s, with all kinds of unnecessary accoutrements that we have. In other jurisdictions, they provide for the people before they think of themselves, politicians. In this country, it's the reverse. The politician will think about his V8 before he will think about the child learning on the bare floor in school. Our thinking. There's something fundamentally wrong with our thinking in this country. Now, on to the next slide. Here's what Dr. Arthur Kennedy, physician and political activist with the MPP, is saying. I found it interesting. He says, I get paid better, and he's in the US, than a United States senator, which means that society places a certain premium on my professional skills. The government should make sure that the living circumstances of health professionals match that of their colleagues in other professions, like politics. So the politician can earn so much. And whether it is ex gratia or what the Speaker of Parliament was talking about recently, whatever the benefits are, can we comparatively say, especially on the back of what our politicians have delivered to us in this country, the shambolic performance in this Fourth Republic, can we say they merit the sort of perks we give them? Can we? On to the next slide. Now let's leave the nursing and general situation and come to this recent bit about the alleged tape. According to excerpts, it's a secret audio alleging a plot to remove the police chief Frustration arising due to the IGP's refusal to align with the ruling party. Oh, sir. So do the IGPs... I mean, if this turns out to be true, are they aligned? You must align to your appointing authority. It's particularly worrying because, you know, the Ghana Police Service is under the executive. And the vice president is head of that council. Now, breaking the 8th agenda impossible with the current police chief. I see. On the back of what we saw in Asin North. And then concerns were raised about democracy and potential election rigging. Look, I'll just give some advice to Mr. President. You may have the right to take away this IGP, but contemplate what the repercussions could be. You are the appointing authority, you are the appointor, and you can disappoint. You can take him out of there. But on the back of this situation, especially if this tape is deemed legitimate, I would approach it with caution if I were you. Respectfully, Mr. President. On to the next slide. Now, there was talk, though, just to cap off on the last slide. A member of parliament from the NDC end was saying, look, let investigations continue. If there's nothing in there, if it's all smoke and mirrors, why be concerned? You shouldn't be worried, right? Yeah, so just relax. Let the investigations go on. But let's come back to our soaring interest rate. I found this statistic interesting when I chanced upon it recently. We're talking about some improvements in the economy, but wait, what is the dollar-CD ratio? What is the pound-CD ratio? And even worse, what is the inflationary ratio? And then the increasing cost of borrowing. Look at it. Ghana has now overtaken Egypt, a band of 15 countries. Look at where we are. We're top, 24.39%. And if you're on a bank loan, you would understand exactly what I'm talking about. Some people now, I know people, even their loans, like what their salaries were paying initially, now they have to top up their salaries in certain banks. If you want figures, if you want the data, come, I'll give them to you. 24.39%. Egypt, with all its woes, 23.41. Look at Malawi. We're almost twice what Malawi is. We're almost twice, in fact, we are twice what Kenya is. Abasema. Why? All on the back of the wanton borrowing, which hasn't yielded any results. This is why we find ourselves where we are. Next slide. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, if you look at Ghana's 2023 Peace Index ranking, let me just shift the conversation as we get ready to wrap. Everything seems to be going on a downward trajectory. Even the peace, we keep playing, oh, Ghana is a peaceful country. Oh, yeah, we have peace here. Ehompono. Look at us. So in the world, 51st, in Africa, the 4th. Let's go to the next slide and see the dynamics in there because we are slipping. Look, in 2022, we placed 40th, a respectful, decent 40th, and we're second in Africa. Now, even Sierra Leone, Madabio's country, with everything that is going on there. But of course, mind you, this is perception. Just as we have the Corruption Perception Index, this is also the Global Peace Perception Index. And of course, what we do here, the things that we don't stem the tide of, some of the things we've seen in some elections, and that's why I'm happy with the IGP for what he did in Asin North, though there were some skirmishes there. Now 51st and 4th. Now, what are some of the metrics? The level of societal safety and security, the extent of ongoing domestic and international conflict, and of course, the degree of militarization. All of that feeds into it. How are we faring? These are all national security matters. So you want to talk about our sports, Bwe. You want to talk about governance, Bobo. You want to talk about the economy. What exactly are we getting right? What exactly? Now, let's wrap with the concluding slides that will give us a fair idea. The cost of violence in Ghana, if you look at how much we've been spending, in 2022, $10.1 billion. In 2021, $10.5 billion, with a deficit of $400 million. And that, of course, includes expenditure and economic effect related to containing, preventing, and dealing with the consequences of violence, which is why we ought to deal, for example, with the Boku situation. It's a scar on our conscience. It's a blot on the development of that part of our country. But just to wrap the conversation, Ghana 4, I want to segue into this. When you look at our multidimensional poverty, I'm very concerned about this part as I wrap up my blunt thoughts for the morning. Very concerned. Look, even the data we get from 2011 to 2018, it doesn't even factor in the losses we've made on the back of COVID-19 and the Russo-Ukrainian war. We keep claiming that these have shattered our economy. But per some World Bank research, we know that about 3 million more people slipped into multidimensional poverty within that period. That is not even factored in here. Now look at this. About 8 million of Ghanaians are multidimensionally poor. Do you know what that means? On various strata, poor. 30.8 million population, 8 million in this situation. Next slide. Now, if you look at the fact that an additional 6.5 million Ghanaians are vulnerable to multidimensional poverty, they are just on the precipice. A little push and they are in that pit as well. You add that 8 million to 6.5 million, what do you get? 14.5 million, almost half of our population in the quagmire. Let's go to the final slide. Now, the contributors to multidimensional poverty. Standard of living, basics. So you're talking about standard of living, 45.9%. Education, 30.5%. Without our education, we're doing well. But how about the basic? How about the other areas? How about those entities without the correct curricula, syllabi? What is happening there? Let's tout free SHS. But how about the other loopholes? How about what's the Nooks president has been calling for? The Get Fund, for example, and how over time we've been cutting down what we are taxed for. When I go and make certain purchases, I'm taxed for that. Yet we will not allot the money to them. We'll be using it for reckless things. Education, 30.5%, health, 23.6%. Put that together and you'll find out the tail of the script, why we are where we are. Nkrumah focused on the plebeian masses, the hoi polloi, the ordinary people, that trader. Mr. Vice President or Dr. Vice President, I remember you. Nurses are suffering. Doctors are suffering. Media people are suffering. Are we not suffering now? It's high time you as leaders of this country rise up to the occasion. Because if you don't rise up, it will be your downfall. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. And please, those ministers, members of parliament, and other leaders in this administration who sometimes will meet me, oh, but you know, some of these things, I will say it as it is without fear or favor. We stand for the truth. We're independent, fearless, credible. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you this morning, and I hope it will get our policymakers thinking about the way forward for Ghana. Ghana, I salute you. Good morning. Welcome back on the AM show. And the first installment is a conversation about some of our state-owned enterprises and how they are faring. Now, in recent times, you would have heard about the 17 defunct entities that are meant to be sold. There are a number of them. The state construction company, Bonsa Tire Factory, and of course, the Bolgatanga Meat Factory, among others. Well, this morning, we have a conversation with the very person at the top of affairs. He is Minister for Public Enterprises in the person of Joseph Cudjoe. He joins us. It's not the first time he's in the studio. He joins us one more time. Mr. Cudjoe, a very good morning to you, sir. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Sure, welcome.
So even before we get into this conversation, this is the meat of the matter. But that's right. You've been at post for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
How is the Public Enterprises Ministry faring? What have you been up to?
Yes, thanks so much. Let me even correct this. The Public Enterprises is a secretariat and the office of the president.
Right.
And I'm Minister for Public Enterprises, oversighting SIGA.
Right.
Yes. So it's not a full-fledged ministry, so to say.
Once you're referred to as minister, we will give you that title and give you the requisite. I know, but I get what you're saying.
I know, but that's...
Thanks for the clarification.
Sure. Now, we've been faring very well. Very, very, very well. And in a conformance to the president's vision.
Right.
That how the public enterprises have fared in the past, some way, somehow we should put a stop to its bleeding of national budget every year.
And that has been the case since Nkrumah's time. And I think it's a good vision we should all support. And I'm happy anytime there are issues or news about it, you bring it to the fore, the public domain. This is the first time that happened, that we, as a country, putting our lenses and our public discussion or public discourse on public enterprises. It's been intense, and I like the way we are all going because that's the way to achieve the president's vision.
When you look at our state-owned enterprises, you would realize that over time, over the decades, especially in this Fourth Republic, a lot of them have bled us rather than contributed to the state's kitty. I remember there was a time when we looked at some of the data, and very few of them were performing. Very few of them were able to break even and even maybe make a profit. A lot of them were just a drain on our purse.
That's it.
Paint that picture for us. What is the situation currently?
Currently, it's...
So, you know, basically, I know you may not have all the facts and figures, but how many are we looking at? How many are able to break even? How many are able to turn out some sort of profit? And how many are just a draw on the state kitty?
Let me put it this way. The goal is to make them profitable.
Profitable.
And those that have not been set up to make profits, to make them efficient. So let me take the numbers for us to look at what we have in the public enterprise space. At the moment, if you go to SIGA website, we have the state entities register published there. 175 of them in 3 categories.
Okay.
The first category being the term we all know very well, SOEs, state-owned enterprises. They are 100% owned by
the state.
And come more like companies, limited. Okay. And then there is a second category, JVCs, joint venture companies, which are co-owned between state and private
enterprises.
Exactly, and private sector. So that one...
So the pure SOEs are 175?
No, the pure SOEs are 53.
53.
Exactly.
Okay. The total is 175.
175.
How many are the JVCs?
The JVCs are 47.
47. That already gives us a total of
100. Exactly.
Right. So the
so
75.
These are the commercial space.
Okay.
These ones, profit is expected from them.
Okay.
And then there is the third category, which we, under the SIGA Act, has been classified as other state entities, OSCs.
Okay.
OSCs. And the other, the OSCs are 75 in number. These are public corporations and regulatory bodies. So you can see in that space, all the authorities, you call them authorities or the commissions in that space. You know, government has interest in them. So if you look at state...
So with the Ghana Standards Authority...
Ghana Standards Authority,
Food and Drugs Authority,
Ghana... a lot of them, Petroleum Commission.
I think the free zones, it used to be a board, it's now an authority, right?
Exactly.
All of those.
All of those. Okay. NPA, National Petroleum Authority. You know, they are set up for specific sectors of the economy. And their work interface with the private sector to deliver service to them, for them to do the commercial ventures. So if you look at the way they work, you can't set them up to say they should be profitable, but they've been set up to operate efficiently. And efficiency is the hallmark, the goal there to achieve, so that they'll be able to do things faster to make the private sector tick in also what they do.
Where would you position a GEHOC, for example, within the first 175?
GEHOC is an SOE.
The first SOEs. That's among the 53, right?
Come again on that. GEHOC is
the
an SOE
SOEs,
is among the 53.
It's among the 53.
Exactly. Exactly. Among the 53.
Our very own Maxwell Kofi Juma's
company, yes.
Outfit.
Exactly.
How is that outfit faring?
As per my last visit, they were doing well because they had turned around from loss making and had reported some minimal profit. But the year that followed, they were not able to report a profit. So I think they are on course. They are on a strategic plan, a 3-5-year strategic plan. So we believe that within the 5-year period, they will be able to turn around and make a contribution to.
And that sometimes, there is Tor, for example, on my mind. Yes. The Tema Oil Refinery. There used to be Bust as well.
Very good.
On my mind.
Very
about
good.
Oil storage and transportation.
Very good.
Or transport. Over the years, some of us, we've reported on these things, time without number, ad infinitum. Because it's all of a sudden, this year, we're able to do something, we've turned a profit. Then the next 5 years, we go back into coma.
Yes.
That has been the rhetoric. So you see, you're talking about Maxwell Kofi Juma's GEHOC. By the way, a very good morning to you, Mr. Kofi Juma. Sometimes we disagree to agree, but you're someone I respect a lot. So good morning to you.
Good.
And you would see that the problem is that level of sustainability, that continuity. It is not there. Even with those that turn a profit, I am almost dead certain, I could bet my bottom dollar, that if I asked you about maybe the entities that were turning a profit 5 years ago, or let's say 3 years ago, or let's say 2 years ago when you took over, and now some of them are not.
Okay.
Some of them are not making the same profits or even turning a profit. Some may have fallen into the category of those that are just trying to break even. Am I right or wrong?
I'm partially right, but I will highlight the issues to, on one hand, support the point you are making, and the other hand, to provide the underlying problems we haven't dealt with to attain sustainability. You're right that sustainability is the issue. Today, profit, next time, no profit. But I must say, every business or enterprise is in an industry. Let's say what you do here, you are in the media industry. Sometimes, even regulations in the industry can make you, in 1 year, become unprofitable.
True.
Just regulation.
True.
Yeah. And
I mean, the AGI, among others, are complaining now about certain things. So I understand what you're saying.
So sustainability would mean for us to attain that level of performance where industry development only become the causes of loss making and not board performance, management performance, and staff performance. Are you getting my point?
Right.
So if you want to attain sustainability, let's say COVID.
I was just about, the very next question I was going to ask was, how much of an impact, since you started talking about the market and things that could happen, the push and shove, I was just going to ask you how much of a contributory factor COVID was and maybe the war in Ukraine.
Yes. These things shape the industry you are in, whether you are a private sector company or public sector company. They shaping the industry. Your cost of input has gone up. You adjust your prices, revenue goes down. Because when prices goes up, demand it's not as...
Demand and supply.
Exactly. So these industry factors, you don't have a handle of them. But what we need at this stage in our public enterprise space is performing boards.
So performance boards?
Yeah, performing. Boards that are boards of directors that are performing. Then, and management teams that are performing. And staff mindset that is also driven towards performance.
But why are we not getting that right? Because you remember when the education minister, for example, was saying that with the free SHS mindset and letting certain categories of students get into certain schools, A-class schools, like my school, Bishop Herman, or the Wegehes and the rest, if you say you have the systems that work, right, you should be able to pick a student who is not so good and be able to mold that person to be able to perform at a certain high level. So I'm saying that if we have some sort of formula that, look, okay, so let's say GEHOC is performing very well, way above par, compared to, I'm just using that as an example.
Yes, yes.
What is GIHOC getting right? Okay, so they have this, they have that. The board is this, the board is that. Right. How can we model to ensure that we can replicate this in other state-owned enterprises, in other JVCs, in some of these other state entities, to ensure that gradually, maybe it's a 4-year project, gradually we're able to get all of them at a certain level in terms of board membership and all of that. And then we can take it from there. Why are we not doing that? Are we doing that?
Yeah, we are doing that. That's why I say sustainability, getting the sustainability done. The focus must be on board performance, management team performance, and staff performance.
Okay.
Then we have the people delivering the result. If losses will come in, it should come from external development, market development, and so on. Then you know that it's not your fault. You didn't bring COVID. So if STC is on trajectory of profitability and they are doing so well and growing,
and COVID
hits.
Right.
And you can't move masses.
At a point you had to have this shutdown of the system. No one was going out and all of that. Who will go and board a bus?
Who will go and board a bus? Ghana Airport Company Limited, which is also in the 53 SOE space, also hit by COVID. It can't be your fault as a board or as management or staff. So those are the issues. But a very fundamental issue I want to bring to this conversation, looking at the solutions, is even account preparation.
Account preparation?
Account preparation.
It's crucial to every business, of course.
Every business, and audited account preparation. I can tell you that since independence, we have not focused our attention in that area. And the president currently is carrying the vision that, hey, bring accountability, transparency to the level that the private sector and best practice and companies do.
Okay.
You know, if you get
I don't know about since independence though, because sometimes I go into my archives and read papers from the 50s and 60s.
Yes.
And I've read articles with Nkrumah, touting some of those and pushing for that. So I don't know about
account
since independence,
preparation.
not focusing on that.
Yes, but that's what it is. Audited accounts. You check the history. Let me even go back to a very recent history we can quickly avert our mind to in state ownership reports that are being published. Can you believe this? That in 2016, for example, up to that point in time, only 18 companies prepared accounts.
18 out of the 175.
18 out of 175. And when we say prepared accounts, it's like you are complying with the law, Public Financial Management Act. You are complying with it, which says that at the end of the year, by February, your account must have been prepared. By April, your account must have been audited. That is a requirement of the law.
And only 18 of them had done that.
Only 18.
You know, I just did the math. That accounts for 10.28%. So let's say 10%.
Okay.
90% did not.
So, and 2017, the president carrying this vision, bringing transparency, bringing accountability to that space because it's a fundamental management issue. If you want to manage the enterprises well, you must have data to look at and assess performance. In 2017, 49
did that.
Exactly.
So let's do the math.
Okay.
49 did it, which was now what? 28%.
Okay.
So that's about 18 percentage point increase.
Okay. And then 2019, 77.
77
Exactly.
Of them. So since then, what has been the highest we've had?
2022, 132.
132. Let's do the math quickly. So that'll give us 75%, 75.42%.
Exactly, coverage. Now, audited accounts, which is even more critical, audited, we have had similar improvement. 2 in 2016 to 5 in 2017, and then 41. Yes, I think I should have. And 44 in 2018, 65 in 19, 79 in 2020, and 95 audited
95.
Accounts.
And when was that?
2021.
Is that the last time we had these audited accounts?
Yeah, 2022 year, some companies have met the requirement under the PFM Act. Others, because of a load of work that has come on the Auditor General's outfit, we're waiting for the rest to be pushed out.
So as far as the accounting systems are concerned, at least we know we've had over 75% of them.
Yes.
But when it comes to
audited accounts,
it falls a bit to 54.28%.
That's it.
So you are just about halfway
through. From 2 in 2016, you see. So, and even when you express 2 as a percentage of 175, it's negligible.
Yeah.
So this is the improvement we are making to bring accountability, transparency to the public enterprise space. And another key thing is plans, strategic planning. Okay, apart from annual budgets, which everybody prepares, you know, an annual budget should be put in the context of a strategic plan. Okay, it should be derived from strategic plan and possibly turnaround plans or restructuring plans, if we like, of these enterprises. That's another angle. My outfit, SIGA, and Minister of Finance, that we have a unit in Ministry of Finance called Public Investment and Asset Division. That's what we are pushing. That we do things corporately right.
Okay.
If we want to attain the ultimate goal of profitability.
Mr. Cudjoe, there's no way around this.
Yes.
A government of a country
yes.
must administer the country as though it were administering a company. It's just a company on a much larger scale.
Exactly.
There's no going around that. But let me ask you then, with all of these that you've put in place in terms of accountability, how has that reflected in terms of functionality, productivity, and even more overall impact? So what can we say? Okay, so the minister, Joseph Cudjoe, is saying that we have done X, Y, Z. Now we've brought them to more accountability. Now more are getting audited, 54.28%. What has that meant in terms of real impact?
Yes, there's a significant impact. Let me point out companies you can look at in the public domain, and even on your own, believe that, oh, something is happening. You know, anytime BOST in the past, anytime BOST had been in the news, it was for the bad news. Today, BOST is in the news, and it's a profitable company, writing dividend checks to support budgets, complying with...
When was the last time BOST was profitable?
2021 account showed profitability. 2022 has also gotten improved profit. But even most importantly, accountability. BOST never had an AGM before in its life. Can you imagine a company that had existed and never had annual general meeting, but had its first AGM and a subsequent one, and then meeting the requirement of preparing audited accounts in compliance with the Public Financial Management Act straight on.
Okay.
That by April ending, by February ending, that account had been prepared, by April and then audited. This kind of performance should be starred, and we all use it to benchmark others. You know, when people are thinking that this speed of delivering results can't happen in the public enterprise space, and we are able to focus on a few to deliver that benchmark, then they become the reference for others that it is possible. So you should also do it. But like I've said, the fundamental is account preparation, audited account. For me to peruse it and say that your revenue is on the upward trajectory or downward trajectory, what are you doing to? Your cost is excessive or managed. So be encouraged or manage it downwards if we find it to be excessive. Your tax-paying compliance, you're not complying with your tax obligations, and so on. Your market development, your research development, application of technology. If we are not getting accounts prepared and audited, we can't have the data to even make those management decisions. So in distant past, the public enterprise space have been characterized with this high indebtedness, high loss making, non-performance. I don't know how to put it. Those characterization, all those adverse and negative characterization that happened was because a certain fundamental things corporately were not being done.
Okay.
So the emphasis today is to get those. Now there is a select committee of Parliament, Committee on Employment, Social Welfare, and State Enterprises.
Right.
They peruse your audited account. If companies are not preparing audited account, how do they do their work? So today, with audited accounts increasing, the committee is busy and also inviting the enterprises to peruse the audited account and asking questions.
I'm just praying that as you speak about audited accounts
Yes.
and all of that, we've had instances in this country and also outside of the country where, yes, auditors go, but the right things are not done. So you would think the company is operating above the board, but things, it's like a shell. It paints a different picture. And then when you go into it, you realize that, look, it's not as rosy as it seems. I hope, which entities? I know we have the big four entities, and then I don't know which.
Ghana Audit Service is...
The Ghana Audit Service.
Exactly. Right. But maybe some exceptions, some of private audit firms provide services to augment the services required.
So this is the way to go, and you feel that moving forward, when we're able to get all of them on board, our productivity and everything else will also increase.
It will,
on the back
because
of that.
we'll have data to ask questions.
Right. Let me just ask you this, though, before we get into those 17 defunct entities. I want us to focus there for a while.
Okay.
There's also the case that we politicize everything, whether NDC or NPP. So a president comes into office and say you are this state-owned enterprise. It's only a matter of time you will go. Whether you are with some of those other state entities. No, I mean the person at the helm of affairs.
Okay.
You will not be retained. Rarely would you see that.
Okay.
Do you get it?
Okay.
If today, let's say the NDC came into power, I don't know how long Maxwell Kofi-Juma would be at GIM.
Okay, I get it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So a new president comes and everything changes. Of course, you're speaking about accountability. There is what's the term? That bit over time, experience, knowing, it will come to mind. But you have that sense of continuity. You've been at post, so you know. All of a sudden, someone comes, and then there is a question of square pegs in round holes. Because sometimes you would have someone totally different, whether it's the GMPC or the MPA or whatever, come, thrust into office, maybe without the requisite know-how. And then sometimes the upward trajectory turns into a downward one. How do we deal with that? How?
This question is a very insightful question. Because I've been thinking about it and looking at how to deal with that, I'll tell you the solution right away. The solution is what I'm emphasizing. Get companies prepare audited account. Get them to prepare audited account. When there is a change of government and you have set standards, performance standards, and I mean standards, then even the specified entities, that is how we manage SOEs, how we manage JVCs, how we manage OSCs, in terms of their performance, will become part of the political discussion and will become part of the referencing to assess whether a government is performing or not. Whether a government is performing or not. Because
so do you have only two of them presenting audited reports, as against, for example, this.
Exactly. Then we can make that comparison.
Are you failing as a government to get our SOEs functioning? I get the point.
Since independence, we've not factored that. The public enterprise pays about a third of GDP of Ghana, contribute about a third of the GDP. But we've never thrown this kind of discussion into that space. So a third of GDP has been in the dark, and we are not assessing. And we're only assessing local government space, MMDAs. We are only assessing MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies, but the specified entity space, which commerciality exists for among 53 enterprises to operate profitably and write dividend checks to support budget, to achieve that mandate, and the OSC space, that is other state entity space, that are to deliver their services efficiently so that the private sector that interfaces with them would have speedy service delivered to them for them to also take for the economy to perform. We have left this space in the dark, but it is because we don't have data. It is because we know when we published the SOR, State Ownership Report, and that information became publicly available, some of the media houses went into that and reported the extent of losses that the public enterprises were incurring and injuring the country's budget.
So now we're gradually turning the tide of that. Exactly. There was a time when you came on this show and spoke about an awards system.
Yes.
Sort of like we have with the MMDAs.
Yes.
How is that going?
We're working on the second edition, the second edition. We're working on that. And it will come alongside with the state ownership report as well.
Will all 175 entities we are looking at, whether SOEs, JVCs, or OSCs, are they going to be involved? Or is this just going to focus on
public
SOEs?
enterprise league table is premised on the companies that sign performance contracts with the state.
Okay.
It's premised on them. So performance contract signing itself has also been improving.
Okay. Not all of them are on board.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. In 2016, for example, only 6 signed performance contracts with State Enterprises Commission.
Let's come to today. How many?
Today, no, I'm telling the improvement trajectory so that you'll be happy.
I want to know today because obviously it would be better. The best would be as
so
of now.
6, and today we have 73.
73.
Signing performance from 6 to 73 today.
Okay. That's an increment of what, 67?
Exactly. Okay. So the time we released the maiden edition of the Public Enterprises League Table, because it is premised on assessment of the performance contract and then ranking your performance as in your level of attainment of the target set in the performance contract. We had only 50 companies ranked. We had only 50 companies. I'm looking forward to an improved number of companies to be ranked in the second edition.
Okay. So what's your target?
They will give me that target, but I look forward to more, about 60 or more.
All right.
Yes.
So let's get into the 17 defunct entities that are going to be sold. We have a comment that came through. Some are also, congratulating you for the work you are doing. Some are also tackling your constituency. I'll leave your constituency for the very last bit. But there's this person who says, okay, I thought we were against the divestiture implementation plan.
Yep.
Can't our leaders just learn from Lee Kuan Yew, of course, the former leader of Singapore?
Yeah.
That is Alex Blegle sending that. He says, can't we just learn from them? I thought we were against the divestiture implementation plan. How do you respond to him, and what led to this decision to let go of these entities?
That can't our leaders learn from Lee Kuan Yew?
Yes.
My response is that...
He says, I thought we were against the divestiture implementation plan. Divestiture.
I was against it, or I don't understand.
He says, I thought government, so to speak, I think we were against. You know, there has been rhetoric that some of these will not divest or diversify and all of that.
Okay.
And I guess that's where he's coming from.
Okay, but let me pick up some elements in his thoughts and affirm or share my opinion with him. Can't our leaders learn from Lee Kuan Yew? You know, Lee Kuan Yew, his hallmark was right people, that is capacity of the people to do what they.
But that capacity had to be built.
That's the point.
That capacity had to be built. The capacity wasn't there waiting for him.
It had to be built.
Yeah.
So the question as to can't our leaders, you know, the population on the street today is part of our human resource stock. Isn't that the case?
Right.
A lot of them didn't get the benefit of even reaching secondary school.
True.
So that human resource stock is different from the Singaporean human resource stock.
But we also have a vast stock. And some people will tell you, that goes back to what I was saying about square pegs and round holes. People will also tell you, we have a large stock, but because of politics, sometimes we'll not even reach out to certain people because of that same thing.
Let's take it, because countries get developed over time. It's just a matter of doing the right things at the right time.
Right.
Now, realizing that you need educated pool of a population to even introduce a technology, right? You know, there are Ghanaians who, when you put even a phone in their hand, can't even dial. Or when a call is even coming, wouldn't even be able to notice who is calling. How do you deploy technology across your population? There are some who would not be able to even run to ATM and operate an ATM. So education. And that's what the government is doing. Coming into the public enterprise space, realizing the capacity. We've done board capacity building, company secretaries capacity building, and so on and so forth in policy forums. We've engaged in policy fora to encourage people to develop their own capacities. I've collaborated with Institute of Directors to bring in best practices of giving corporate direction in the corporate governance space. So these things, don't take it out of the Singaporean instance. Are you getting me? So,
but there are still things. I'm sure the bottom line is there are still things we can learn. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, you can look at what has worked in other jurisdictions. Of course, our context may be different, but there are many things that are still workable. But how do you respond to this, though? I just want some clarity on this, because I thought I had heard you say what we put up.
Yeah.
Stephen Agaliba says, Joy News, please check your heading. Mr. Cudjoe said a third of GDP goes to public enterprises, but your caption is public enterprises contribute a third of Ghana's GDP. I thought you had said the latter.
Yeah,
you said we contribute a third of Ghana's GDP, right?
Yeah.
So our heading was right.
Exactly.
Mr. Agaliba,
you
may not have followed.
It is not a third goes to them.
No.
A third goes to
they
them.
Contribute a third. Yeah. So thank you for the correction, but maybe this is a correction on yourself.
Yeah.
So let's get into these enterprises. Abosso Glass Factory, I remember this from way back.
Exactly.
There is, that's the central stores. Then the Bolgatanga Meat Factory, the Bonsa Tire Factory. There's the Research Laboratory of the Ghana Consolidated Diamonds, Regional Office of the Ghana Food Production Corporation at Srodai, among others. So many of them. What went into targeting these? Because you say, for example, that this will save government money being used to pay the salaries of security workers and all of that. How much were we spending? How much were we expending to maintain these outfits?
I can't give that figure, but it's an expenditure. Apart from that, you know, the cost to the country is even not the CD payment to the humans who have had an employment some way, somehow, watching over the assets. It is even not, for me, the cost to worry about. It is the deteriorating value, which is rather costly. That if these enterprises were disposed of or divested 20 years ago, we would have had better relative value than the state we had left them to deteriorate into today. Are you getting my point? So that is rather what we should be afraid of. That you have in the home sense, you have a sheep to sell when it is fat. You didn't sell at that point in time, and then you leave it to grow lean and sick, and then you sell. You won't get value. So that is rather the crux of the matter. Why would we sit down for years on end before disposing of these assets? That is where our interest should be. That is the point I'm emphasizing.
I see.
But because we've been so sensational about these assets, governments in the past have not been bold to take these corporate decisions. Like when the entity is functioning, making profits, that is the point in time you have to think of maybe listing them on a stock exchange, because there you and I will find it attractive to buy shares of the company. But now you cannot list on the stock market. Who will buy into these assets? For what? Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
So the state has lost value, and we are facing the same circumstance. When you bring in, when you wrote Tor, I said at a point in time, Tor was a very good enterprise. Today, it's challenged. It is really, really, really challenged. Private capital, let me start from government capital. The state itself getting money to inject into Tor, I don't see it happening. When the state is confronted with delivering public services and goods which are critical for all of us, like roads, hospitals, schools, security, we need huge expenditures in there. Government is borrowing. I mean, sometimes, because our discussions are always in isolation from development in other sectors of the economy, we tend to always shoot in the dark. Listen, for a government, and I'm invoking a principle, for a government that is borrowing money, issuing treasury instruments, and borrowing at an interest rate of, say, 25%.
Which is around what we now have in terms of the rate of borrowing.
Yes. So
and we're even higher than Egypt right now.
Yes, I'm invoking an investment principle that anybody listening, if you want to be part of that discourse, what should we do with funds? What should we do with this? For a government that is borrowing at an interest rate of, say, 25%, if you say such government should invest in a commercial enterprise, that is an enterprise that the private sector would do anyway if you leave it. Private sector will mobilize capital and come and provide that goods or service. If it will be the case, then for a government that is borrowing at 25%, if government goes to invest in such a commercial enterprise, the rate of return expected that will make it reasonable and rational should be above 25%. Do you understand? Should be above 25%.
I get it.
So the question is that, Tor,
obviously you can't borrow and perform at a rate lower than what you are.
Exactly.
Because that would mean losses.
Exactly. So,
but government also
if the government were not borrowing,
gets to borrow at better concessionary rates compared to individuals. So if the individual or the private entity is borrowing at 25%, government may get maybe 20% or 21, 22%.
Yeah,
or maybe even less,
like
depending on what.
You are right. You are right. Government rate of borrowing is said to be the floor of interest rates in any economy.
Right.
The treasury rate should be the floor. And then you risk profile all other borrowing around it so that others will borrow at a higher rate. But what I'm saying is that when government holds funds today, and we know government is owing, there's government debt on its books, to say government should invest in a Aboso glass factory, to say government should invest in Tor, the alternative use of government funds, should government invest in the potholed roads around your area, or use it to invest in this where certainty of performance is not guaranteed? Provide security, do the schools, do the hospitals. Those are, because these things, when you leave into private hands, alcohol will be produced by the Casafrecons. Why should government inject capital into producing alcohol, for example?
Right. But we still have our Gehok.
That's the point I'm making. So when you see Gehok going on the stock market, being divested into private hands so that you and I would buy shares into it, we shouldn't create the sensations again. Because I'm saying the state, which belongs to you and I, is borrowing. That is to say, its tax revenues is not sufficient for it to do all other things it seeks to do. And you and I need them.
We must cut our coat according to our cloth.
Exactly.
Look at the bare bones of the economics, the essentials.
And use our resources optimally. So the question that states should go and invest in these 17 SOEs I've heard, when I hear, I say, but the
there are
state is you and I.
There are justifications
What
as well.
is the justification?
We could have prevented them from falling into this deplorable.
But we did not.
That is the fact. I mean, if
so, why should we invest in them
do this
again?
and go down memory lane and look at what could have been, but we must deal with what is
at the moment. Yes.
At the moment, I agree. But the other angle to this. So again, I'll reroute and reframe this question. How much are we going to save by letting go of these entities? I mean, if you sit here, it must mean that at your board meetings and everything, there have been projections that, look, we are spending X amount on these. Not just the security and all of that, but even they're standing there, ramshackle structures and all of that. This is how much it's costing us. This is how much, if we let go of them, divest or diversify, this is how much we would save that we wouldn't pump into the system. And likely, this is how much we would benefit. So what is the stratification? How much do we seek to
I think I've made that point. I've made that point, but how much we will get is rather what I would take the opportunity.
So you can reiterate. If you say you've made
exactly.
that point, you can reiterate.
I've made that point that we are saving the cost of deterioration.
But you can't put a figure to it.
No, there is a study by one of these big four, which
the big four
led
companies.
To exactly, which led
auditing firms, okay.
Which led to some of these reviews that we are doing. So as for the savings, it is there, but the point I want to highlight to your viewers is the fact that, let's take, for example, Bonsa Tai, which is in Western region, and the factory location, I say, in the past, the choice of that location was really right, because rubber is a tropical tree, and the plantation are taking place in there, and the plantations are growing. So we are producing raw rubber in adequate quantities now, and one other class of industry that is emerging in that space is rubber processing companies.
Okay.
Exactly. To process.
Recently, I saw an unfortunate story about some Odikro or something who had, there was some land reclamation or something, burnt down a lot of rubber, state-owned, and I think the AG, I don't know, I thought it would have been on.
I didn't follow.
Yeah. It's
now, when we move to growing the rubber, harvesting and processing, then it can become an input into a Bonsa Tai company if a private investor takes that investment up with the right capital, technology, the know-how and everything.
So does that mean we are looking for more JVCs, joint venture companies?
For this, I would say dispose of the assets. Okay. Let the private sector investor take it up, but locate the factory there so that the community, in the past, this factory was employing people and benefiting people in that community, so that the community will still have employment, okay? And economic activity will be revived in that community beyond growing of the rubber and processing of the rubber. But it also feed into, I keep saying we do a lot of analysis in isolation, and so we don't get to see the bigger picture. But this will also feed into the government policy of making Ghana an automobile hub, an automobile assembling hub or whatever level of.
We import a lot of the parts. So, for
exactly.
example, tires, we can
importation.
ensure that the tires are produced here.
And then
they meet international standards.
And use of rubber in other economic activities.
So I get the point. Mm-hmm.
So this is a gain expected, and huge gain for that matter, if we succeed at getting somebody with capital to come and revive the enterprise.
So are you by this also saying that, are you by this tacitly saying, private enterprise, we need you, come on board, partner with us and let's do this? If that's what you're saying, say it to them, they are watching you.
Private enterprise, we need you. We need private capital. We need private capital to complement government policy in every space of the economic activities we have. We need private capital, and we need adequate private capital. There's so much economic opportunities available to every private investor. Bring in the right technologies, bring in adequate capital, and invest in the various sectors of the economy. From housing to communications, digitalization, we need a lot of infrastructure too. To automobile, I don't know what sector of the economy is not requiring investment, but it is private capital that will do, so that government would also use our tax revenues to focus on roads, hospitals, schools, projects. Securities, right. Exactly.
Okay, so let me just find out from you. Is it to say that these 17 are beyond redemption, and are there any others that we are targeting?
They are beyond redemption. These 117 are even outside the 175.
Okay.
So if you were to add them, there would have been 192 on the books. These ones go into private hands. Let private capital invest in them. They are all for commercial purposes. And then the 175, a lot of restructuring is taking place. Like you said, they have to attain profitability. Are you getting me? So that is the drive there. Those that we believe that must be listed on the stock market, like how GOIL, GOIL is listed, and how GCB Bank, it was Ghana Commercial Bank, 100% owned, but listed, and today it's really performing well.
It's really performing, and exactly. the Ghana Oil Company has also been.
Exactly.
But since you're mentioning the stock market, let me also bring your attention to something you said. You said in view of all of this that we're discussing, Cabinet was considering a memo to restructure all public enterprises or entities, and that which government had an interest in. You also say that the memo seeks to liquidate, list on the Ghana Stock Exchange, look for strategic investment, or dispose of them.
Yeah, when it comes to the private sector, these things are tools or corporate decisions at their disposal every day. And when you see the giant corporate, these are decisions every day that you have, let's say, a giant, let me use yours, multimedia here. Right. You would have different divisions. Sometimes you may want to enter into a new area which will bring in more revenue. Sometimes you want to hive off a business which you think somebody may have better expertise to do it better, so you sell off. You sell off and use the capital to do what you do best and which is more profitable to you so that you can expand. These things like liquidation. You have a company that is not working, it's on your books. Registrar General has your record that you have that company, but when you go to the field, it's in the bush, overgrown with weeds. Snakes and rats have taken over. People have stolen everything that they have to steal in the bush. So technically, it's just land, but it has some value. You sell, and somebody pays any money, you can bring it to where you have an enterprise that is profitable and then reinvest, rather than leaving that value in the bush too, idle. So that one you say that company that is gone, liquidate it, okay? But those that are not profitable, what would you want to do? Invest a strategic investor, they come in with technology, right capital, like Tor, to revamp it. In any case, I keep saying that if you look at, let me highlight Tor for people to know and learn, right, that when you go to Tor, Tema, a distance away, and I shudder to say a distance away, a kilometer or a kilometer and a half, maximum 2 kilometers away, there is a refinery being developed. People should go and see. People should go and
maybe
see.
One of these days, maybe one of these days, the two of us should go there on a tour.
That would be super. That would be super. A refinery is being developed, and private capital will do this. Don't forget, I have private capital. The amount of capital that is important petroleum product into this country. If you leave that business to government, there will be shortage of petroleum products. Are you getting me? People have money. People have capital. What they can do in terms of commercial enterprises, leave it to them. If government wants, it becomes a strategic issue. Say GOIL, government participation in it, even though it's a JVC, government participation in this. If, for example, the private enterprises are holding you at ransom, we are going on strike, and we are doing this, we are doing that, then you have your GOIL still selling. STC, for example, our advocate will have it. If you have one day private enterprises joining, sometimes they create these associations and they can hold you at ransom, hold the state at ransom. Then STC will be there functioning because it belongs to the state, or the state is in venture with a certain private sector, insurance sector, and so on. So sometimes for strategic reasons, you would want the state to participate in a commercial venture in conjunction with a private enterprise for those strategic reasons. But beyond that, every sector of the economy, from housing, how many houses has the state delivered compared with private capital, what it has delivered?
But even there, I don't know whether you want to go there, because even with housing and what we've delivered, it's a complete mess.
I am under
some of those as far back as Kufuor in the Ashanti region.
I am underscoring the point that the state is limited. I'm underscoring the point that the state is limited.
But I am also reinforcing the point that even where we get it right, we allow politics to get in to the point where they become useless to the ordinary taxpayer.
That's
even where we get it
right. You are right.
Even where we get it right.
You are right. So it should be the case that we should be passionate and rational in these decisions rather than political-driven discussions.
Let me find out from you. So it's great, some of what you're doing there. In fact, there are some messages coming through. Alex Asamoah says, thanks to the Honorable Minister in charge of Public Enterprises. Initially, people were confused about new ministerial portfolios, but has now realized how it is helping in the economic growth. Alex Asamoah, when you're going to make your point, make it devoid of the politics. We know there are ministers. In fact, there are some of those campaigning now who say that they can use 40 ministers or less. So let's not even go there. It's not the 120 ministers down to 90-something that will solve the problem. But the point you're making is, thank you, Honorable Joseph Cudjoe, for your efforts of reviving the SOEs in the country through the league table. Those are points to make. But when you go the number of ministers, some will also come and say 200. And how many of them are really delivering?
Can you take note of Alex Asamoah's, I think, my veteran. I think he's invoking something that happened at my veteran.
Okay.
That they said, what I have been appointed to do
is not relevant.
It's not relevant. I think that is what he's rather talking about.
Point made. There's this one, Akon Emmanuel says, leadership of substance. Efia is grateful. And I'll be coming, that's the final bit I'll do, your constituency. This one says, Honorable Joseph Cudjoe, sharp brain. Charles Osei Boateng says that. Someone is asking, though, when we get to your constituency, don't forget, when will the gutter in Cocoa Villa be completed? I don't know. I suppose that is. But we'll get to that at the tail end when you're talking about your constituency. This one from Charles Osei Boateng says, Honorable Joseph Cudjoe, MP for Efia constituency, is a life-changing MP. God bless him so much for giving jobs to the people of Efia constituency. All right, so those are some of the messages. I mean, there are many more than this, but those are the ones that I have singled out.
And
what next? I'll allow you to talk about the constituency and these issues. But what next for the private or the public enterprises space?
Yeah.
You have about a year and a half to go before the elections. And like I said, our system is very political. So once there's an electoral cycle, if there is a change in government, you know that many of you will not remain at post. Between now and 2024, what do you hope to achieve as far as the public enterprises space is concerned?
Okay, thank you. What I hope to bring into the mainstream activity includes getting the enterprises that are on loss-making trajectory to have turnaround plans beyond the audited account and compliance, financial reporting compliance. I want them to have turnaround plans that will be approved by their own boards and become subject matter of implementation to turn them. I know some of them have already, like VRA, they implemented a turnaround plan and they are in profitability. ECG is in that transition and hopefully they will be able to also turn around.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of them.
And ECG, Dubik Mahama doing quite a bit of work.
Exactly.
Some very good work.
Exactly.
And just a quick one. So the SOEs league table, you spoke about it.
Yeah.
Is it coming back this year? The second one is this year?
It is, yes.
This year.
It is coming up, yeah.
All right.
And then I'm engaging, I have visited 44 of the enterprises and engaged with management.
Which ones? The state-owned ones? Or from
all of them.
SOEs to OSEs to JVCs?
Not the JVC.
Not the JVCs.
The JVC.
Okay.
The JVCs do not have as much problems as...
Yeah, because usually when there's a private
hands in it,
hands in there, they want to make a profit.
They are protecting their capital.
Exactly.
And, so
exactly.
Now, I want to intensify my engagement with the management and boards at the individual enterprise level so that their challenges will be, I'll contribute to dealing with their challenges. That's a way forward then. And an emergent then, you know, once a country embarks on a digitalization agenda, as we say in DVLA, digitalized operations, you sit in your corner and you renew your license. GRA trying to introduce the convenience of tax paying and you're going online and so on. ECG going online, you can, in comfort of your home, buy credit. What do we call it? Health insurance. You can renew and so on. Once you go that tangent, the enterprises expose themselves to hacking, cybersecurity matters. Even banks in this country got exposed.
Right.
Until central bank took steps to
so
establish that cybersecurity center to deal with that risk. So the public enterprises are exposed by as they digitalize, they are exposed to cybersecurity and cyber fraud and so on. So going forward, how would they become profitable if there is revenue leakage that can arise from cyber attacks and cyber fraud? How can they be profitable? Because as for the costs, it will be there.
So once we are plugging those loopholes, then we increase our levels of profitability.
Improve, exactly. So that is a space I'm going to. I've already visited Cybersecurity Authority, had discussion with them, and they are upbeat in helping in that respect.
So to cap off the entire conversation, and it's been really insightful, PK Jr. mentions a number of desks. I'll ask you just to corroborate whether he's right. God bless him for constructing the CDH road and also providing desks for schools in Efia. He mentions a number. I will not mention it. I just want you to corroborate. And then he says, I follow him and I say he's doing very well as Member of Parliament and Minister. Kudos, Mr. Cudjoe. But this one, I don't even know how this person got my number. Sends me a message. Excellent delivery by the Honorable Joseph Cudjoe. I implore you and your team to continue to invite personalities like him. I'm really enjoying the intellectual discourse. Efia to the world. Ohene Jan in Manchester. Ohenejan, you have to tell me how you got my phone number. I don't know how we... But to cap off the conversation, your constituency,
yes.
How many desks have you provided? I just want to see whether what this person is saying can be corroborated by you. And what is Efia? How is Efia faring?
Efia is doing well. Very, very, very well. My focus on human resource development. As I speak, you will see that I have so much passion for human resource development. It's going very well. Giving them education opportunities, and then business development, training, and so on. Those that want to be entrepreneurs, because I have believed that that is the way to go to deal with unemployment, and then giving them jobs and giving them career. And then when it comes to infrastructure level, a lot is happening. Routes have been done, and lots, as for routes everywhere, a lot need to be done. As I speak, Namanai Road, we call it Namanai Road. It's a segment of a road, barely 200 meters. It's giving me a headache because it's a very vital connection. And CDH Road, which had been unattended.
I think someone made mention of that.
Which had been,
and then the Cocoa Villa.
Cocoa Villa Road, that one is done. Cocoa Villa gutter, the gutter the person is talking about, can you believe the gutter is right in front of my own mother's, my parents' house. And since infancy, it's been an open gutter with filth and so on. So I decided to take it on. I was looking for a government contract that would deal with it, but I wasn't getting. And so I decided to take it on out of pocket, and then if I will get funding from somewhere, deal with it. So more than half has been done. So the person is asking, when will it be completed? Exactly.
Okay. And the desks?
My answer is, it's more important to me than even the residents, because it's kind of, that's where I grew up.
Okay.
I grew up.
So you have a personal attachment to
have
this. How many desks?
The desk, I wrote for a 300 to be delivered and added an additional request to the minister in excess of 1,000. I know some delivery.
This person says 500.
Delivery has been made.
This person mentioned 500.
Yeah, delivery has been made. I expect more.
Okay.
To be delivered. Yeah.
Well, it's been an insightful conversation with you, Joseph Cudjoe. This is about your third time coming here, right? Or is it the fourth?
Can be third or fourth. I've lost count, but
I think
I see myself as part of what you are doing.
And now with what this gentleman, Ohenejan, made mention of, I guess we should be inviting you a lot more. And I think there's good reason for that, because what he does holds, like you said, you contribute about a third of our GDP.
Of the GDP, yes.
The enterprises, state-owned enterprises, other state entities, and then the JVCs, the joint venture companies. If they are contributing that much, then I do agree that we should be getting them a lot more and holding you to account, not just to come here and espouse anything, but to come for us to hold you to account.
Account and auditing.
Auditing. We'll do the auditing right here in the studio. But it's been good having you.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we let go?
Yeah, my final thought is that those entities that have been put out there for sale or disposal, we should understand them as an opportunity for the government to invite private capital to revamp them and bring economic activity in those communities the entities are located. You know, it's important for us to get that done, and then that would lead to expansion of the economy.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Mr. Cudjoe, thank you so much for joining the conversation. I'll leave you to give your proper title. We all say Minister for Public Enterprises. Under
Office of the President.
Under the Office of the President. Joseph Cudjoe joined us this morning for a conversation. Hopefully, you followed everything that he said. We have everything recorded, and whatever he says, we'll hold him to it. But for the league log, the league table, around when will you be organizing the awards?
I think they're working towards August.
Towards August, so it shouldn't be too long from now.
No.
Do keep us in the know.
Maximum
so we follow
September,
up.
we should be able to
follow up
publish
on that.
Okay.
Well, that has been the first end of the conversation, but stay with us. If you've not been to the refurbished, renovated Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, you should go there. Eseweni. I may have my own concerns about 30 million Ghana cedis or $3 million, but go there and see for yourself. It's amazing. The park, the edifice, one of the vehicles that Kwame Nkrumah used. I went there, and my colleague Bernice Abubedu-Lanza is going to be there today. In fact, she is there right now. Some of you are concerned that there's been an uptick in the charges, but if you look at what has been done there, you would also realize that the state must be able to recoup some resources and also maintain the facility. That conversation is coming up next after the break with my colleague Bernice Abubedu-Lanza, who is at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. Do stay.
Why invest so much money into a place like this when we have other pressing needs? Tell us more about the GTDP and why the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum has received this facelift.
Thank you very much, and greetings to your audience, and greetings from the Honorable Minister as well. The point is this: we have been struggling with the Cudjoe structure, which is actually embedded within the productivist paradigm. What is in the soil, what is on top of the soil. Time has come that we move towards the post-productivist paradigm, which has got to do with the novelty of the heart and the mind and the hand. And to all of us at the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, our desire is to make the Ghana Tourism Development Project become a beacon towards our economic transformation by developing strategic tourism attractions around the country. If we can increase tourism performance, then we can help position tourism, art and culture to become the #1 contributor to our GDP. In fact, that is the vision of government, and that is the commitment shown by the sector minister to make sure that we are able to look at tourism in a new light and see it as the face of service in the country.
Right. So you paint such a beautiful picture of why this project was, started and what you hope to achieve from it. But then again, we know that there is a culture of bad maintenance, a culture of not creating self-sustaining enterprises. Just yesterday, we heard about 17 state-owned enterprises that are going to have their assets sold, and it's very disheartening to hear that. What is the proof that this investment is worth whatever grant we're receiving from the World Bank, and that we should know, because a lot of people think that this was done using our own funds. It's a World Bank grant that was given us, but whatever it is some form of investment. So how are we ensuring that it's worth our time, it's worth our money, and we don't come here 5 years, 10 years down the line and we bow our heads in shame again?
You see, Ghana has 75% of all the slave edifices, in the world. We are part of the top 25 African countries with richness, and reality in biodiversity. Look, we have 539 kilometers coastline. Look at our conviviality, our friendship, the proverbial Ghanaian warmth, okay? These are some of the intangibles that we can actually put money on, make it become a competitive edge. And the job of the ministry is to ensure that we are able to really looking at the global impetuses and how we can actually even carve out a standard for ourselves in a kind of a localized strategy which takes the Guinean essentials and then take the global best practice in a way that gives a sustainable competitive edge. The job of the ministry and that of the commitment of the minister and the project coordinator is to ensure that we go beyond the traditional cocoa, the oil, and the gold that we have.
All right. So this is saying that we want to expand our sources of revenue, and we've seen that tourism is one of the ways that we can do that. Obviously, a lot of people visit Ghana in particular, and I mean all over the world. When you mention Africa, there are many people who say, I want to go to Ghana first. Obviously, our Year of Return project and the year after or beyond the Year of Return has really helped us, and I must say that it's commendable from the Ministry of Tourism as well. But what are the practical structures that have been put in place, for example, in this place, to ensure that it's self-sustaining?
Good. You know, anytime you get to a tourism site, you got a hard infrastructure and a soft component, because tourism, hospitality, art and culture is actually part of service. And when we talk about service, most of you talk about the 3 P's of service, which has got to do with the personnel, the process, and the physical, ambience or evidence. Now we have this infrastructure that you can look at. Our job is to make sure that the pearl, the oysters, the management is top-notch as well, so that we're able to delight our customers. And that is one thing that the Ghana Tourism Development Project is seeking to do, building capacity, making sure that people have the requisite skills, appropriate skills to be able to really attract new customers and create more value for even the existing customers. As you know, it costs 15 times more to attract a new customer. And if we can continue to deliver value on value and value, then we are sure that we are going to really make some money for the country. You talk about 1 million tourists coming in just last year. That gave us $2.5 billion US. It's the job and the vision of the ministry to ensure that by 2025 we generate $5 billion US. And that will be a mirage unless we continue to delight our customers. And that is why we are making sure that everybody is connected with it. This is not a solo effort from the ministry. Every Ghanaian must be part of this vision. And that's why when we talk about people even coming here, how people show even hygiene is very important. Okay? You go into the washroom and all that. How you conduct yourself there is very important, because I keep saying this, Infante. At the end of the day, is everybody coming together, making sure that tourism does not become some solo effort from the minister or the government, but something that all of us see as the pathway towards our economic transformation.
All right. So that's Professor. He's with the Ghana Tourism Development Project. I will be joined shortly by Kofi Manthe. He is the architect behind the refurbishment, and then we will take you through some of the key stations or places that you'll be taken to when you come here for a tour. And so you stay and hold on with me. Let me finish with the Prof, and then we will go into the places that you can visit. So Prof, briefly, just run us through the other tourist sites that have benefited from this project.
Good. Under the Ghana Tourism Development Project, one of our component or objective is to make sure that we develop tourism site, whether it's publicly owned or privately owned. And through the privately owned one, most often we are going through the grant that has been given to the, if you go to Menchia Palace, for example, Menchia Palace Museum has received grant from us to help them to be able to deliver top-notch experiences for their visitors. You go to Bisa Abrewa, which is a private museum, in the country. They have also received benefit from us. As I'm talking now, we are on the way of making sure that Kakum, Mole, and Shai become a top-notch global, area for people to visit. So you go to Kintampo, View Waterfalls, a lot of other places have actually benefited. Dance Paradise, a lot of places have benefited from this project. Why are we doing this? Because we know that when it comes to tourism, there must be attraction. And that attraction must be worth its salt so that people can go there over and over again.
Right. Thank you so much, Prof. And we'll stay in touch. Thank you for speaking to us here on Joy News. All right. Now, let me take you back to the entrance, right? I'm going to be engaging Kofi Manthe. He is the architect, a very young gentleman who worked on the refurbishment. And he will take us through the key stations you would see when you walk through the reception doors. Hello, Kofi. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. I mean, I'm already enjoying what I'm seeing here, to be honest with you. But just briefly run us through what we would experience once we walk in. What are the key things we see? And then later I would ask what inspired your work.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity of representing my team. Once you walk in, you're going to come into the main receptive hall. You have your ticketing booth. Yes, which is on the left-hand side. And we have the view of his car, which is his first official vehicle as a Prime Minister. So people are allowed to come in, take pictures around the car, but please do not touch the car. From here, you could go through our exhibition hall, which is a platform to allow for expressive, educative, and informative displays.
Let's go to it.
Yeah. So that's the exhibition hall, which allows for expressive, educative, and informative exhibitions. Today we have the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana, Legon. They have been here. They'll be running for like a month. So they have exhibition on Nkrumah. He founded the institute in 1963. So it's open to the public, people who want to have expressive, displays. You can have artists coming through, artwork, corporate bodies.
So if I get you right, so this installation here will not be here forever. So even if you visited this place, say January 2023, I'm just using that as an example, even though it was open in July. If you visited this place, it meant that in about how many months you'd see a different installation?
A month, you see a different installation. Yes.
So you can keep coming here over and over again. You don't need to wait for 1 year. So this has pictures of the Osajefo and videos as well.
Yes. And it also has some historic events that happened during his lifetime in relation to the institute. So the inauguration, some of the pictures being shared. You have pictures of the law school in Kwame Nkrumah University when it was established, the construction. So it's just a historical approach to some of the things he did during his lifetime. So when we opened, they were allowed to start. I'm sure from next month you have a different group here exhibiting.
So from here, where next do we go?
From here you should have your security access, which is a card that allows you through. People are only going to be allowed through with a security access. But we will go through this because we've been given protocol.
So let's go through this. So after you get your ticket, that's what gives you the security access, right? Okay, so it's what? It looks like a card?
Yes, it's a card.
Okay.
Mainly it will be handled by group leaders or tour guides. So you should go to the park with the aid of a tour guide. And then once you come onto the platform, everybody already knows. So far, everybody in Ghana is proud about the work we've put up here, and everybody knows that we have a gift shop, and then we have a double-level restaurant, which is the lower tier and then the upper tier.
What are we likely to get at the gift shop?
Everything in Nkrumah, everything Ghana.
I like that. Briefly summing it up. Okay, right. So we're taking you to the park, and I remember seeing this place as a young girl coming all the way from Akosombo to Accra. And then the fountain was, I'm told it will start soon, right? Yeah. All right. But you didn't do much work to this part of the park, because what it is what, looks to me as it was a few years ago.
We still have the horn blowers. We refurbished the fountain, so we changed the tile system and everything, and the water shooters. What has been added is now audiovisual, meaning you synchronizing water, sound, and visuals, light. Okay. So everything synchronizes together to create a beautiful effect. That's the difference now. Initially it was just water. So now you have the sound and then you have the visual. So it's really, really beautiful, especially in the evenings.
All right. And I see some chairs under the trees here. Are we allowed to sit, or?
You are allowed to sit.
Okay, great. So you have a restaurant, you have a gift shop, you have the fountain display with the phantom from and the horn blowers there, and as usual you have the burial site, right, as well?
Yeah, so you have the mausoleum, which is his original burial site, and then we have the introduction of the Freedom Wall, which is the expressional point for Dr. Nkrumah, and then we have the museum expansion, and then we have the museum.
Okay, so there's a museum expansion, which is the newest addition, yes. Right? Okay, so what are we likely to see there if somebody has already come here and seen the museum already?
So that also has an audiovisual hall. So this means that you have LED screens displaying digital imagery of Dr. Nkrumah. You have his audio, you have his speeches being played in the background, and then you have imprints of his speeches on the wall.
Okay.
So you walk through, it's a very cozy environment. You walk through like a tunnel effect. You go to the top, which is the apex of the tunnel. And the tunnel has been designed in a way that you will feel a bit of resistance or tension in your feet. It's to let you understand that once you are climbing up, the struggle to independence wasn't an easy one.
Wow.
Concept around. It's not supposed to be too much, but you feel like you're climbing towards something. And then when you get to the climax, you have the screen that's showing the Declaration of Independence. So from there, people can come onto the Pergoled platform. You have a view of the mausoleum.
Yeah, maybe you just want to turn and see that. So the Pergoled platform, the wooden one up there, which has a picture of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and the big six is declaring independence, and so that's a beautiful one. So it gives you an imagery of what happened when the declaration was made. So this is the wall you were talking about.
Yes, this is the Freedom Wall. Okay. So the Freedom Wall is a wall that was created to let people understand the various emotional states that Dr. Nkrumah went through during his lifetime. Because I've said it many times that a lot of us didn't grow or weren't born to see Nkrumah. So we wanted to create an exhibition or a platform wall where people can see, various parts of him. For lack of a better word, the human part of Dr. Nkrumah. So you could see him very pensive, elated, happy, angry. It just lets you understand that Dr. Nkrumah was a man. He went through his challenges, he went through his highs and lows. By the end of the day, he was able to leave the legacy he left for us as Ghanaians.
All right. So as I'm seeing this place, there's something just come into my mind. I just picture a cultural troupe and people watching. Is that what this place was meant for?
Okay. That is what it's supposed to be for cultural displays. Okay. You have people playing the different African and Ghanaian instruments. It's just supposed to be an inviting platform where people can come and, just be themselves.
Right. And so I like that quote there. I'm not an African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. And this is one of the famous quotes of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Why did you settle on this quote?
I think when we think about Nkrumah, we think about Pan-Africanism and his struggle to make, Africa a better place and Africa unity. So we selected this quote to let people understand that we see Nkrumah as the birth of Pan-Africanism in Ghana, and we shouldn't forget that Pan-Africanism started from here and then it's moving on to various parts of the world.
All right, I'm going to be ending with Kofi soon. Kofi is the young man that led the team to refurbish the place in terms of architecture and design. But I would just like for you to tell me briefly in 2 minutes what inspired. I hear you say a lot of audiovisual stimulations. It has this newness to, the infusion of digital technology. What inspired all of that?
Well, I think I'm a millennial, so that inspires a lot of time. In a digital age, we need to embrace the technological advancements that are taking shape. People talk about AI, everything. They are not here to take our jobs. They are not here to compete with us. They are just here to enhance the process. So adding all these audiovisual sound effects is just to enhance what we already know as design and then let people better appreciate and keep these things encapsulated for future generations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kofi. We will continue our conversation because I've loved this with you. But let me speak to Mr. Eddie Kwao. Hello, nice to meet you. Eddie Kwao is the acting director of the Park and Museum. So let's continue the conversation, right? And let's go towards where the burial site is and see what we can view there also. But while we get there, let me just start off on this note. Many people are concerned about how much they have to pay to come and view the place. Run us through the prices and why it is justified.
Well, with the prices, we have 2 different categories. We have for Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians. Ghanaians, we have about 4 different categories. So we have for adults, which is 25 cedis per head. Okay. Then we have tertiary with ID, which is 15 cedis per head. We have SHS, JHS, 10 cedis per head, and children 5 cedis per head. The other category for the non-Ghanaians is the adults are paying 100 cedis per head. Their tertiary with ID is 60 cedis per head, whilst their children are paying 30 cedis per head. 30 cedis per head. Okay. We think is reasonable because with the new structures we have on the facility, they need to be maintained and maintained properly. So this is reasonable to help us achieve that particular aim. Yeah.
All right, great. So there are those who also love group packages, right? They love to come with churches or schools. Maybe there's a class that's studying history and they want the children to come and see and learn about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Are there any special packages for such groupings?
Currently, no, but it's something that we could explore and discuss. So I think it's possible for us to have that. But as it is now, we are charging per head.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we are walking towards the burial,
the mausoleum.
The mausoleum where...
Before we get in there, right behind us is where we have Nkrumah's statue and the same spot he made his independence declaration from.
So it happened here?
Here.
Right.
This used to be the old polo grounds for only the English, and then he chose it symbolically for his independence speech. Okay, so just there is a mausoleum where he's laid to rest, actually with his wife. Yeah.
Right.
But before we even get there, you would observe there are a lot of trees on the park.
I was just going to ask you, and I see signages, people planting and owning the trees.
Most of them were planted by some African leaders who were requested to do so during their trips to Ghana. The first was planted by Nelson Mandela. So his tree is just right over there.
Oh, okay.
That's Mandela's tree.
Oh, nice.
Just right there. Okay. And there's one by Sam Juma, the former leader of Namibia. There's one by Robert Mugabe, the late from Zimbabwe. Laurent Gbagbo from Cote d'Ivoire. The late Kibaki from Kenya. Our late president, former president John Atta Mills has a tree here. And so when His Excellency, our president, commissioned the facility, he was also requested to plant one.
Okay, is that the little one I see over there?
Yeah, over there too. And just not long after that, just last week Saturday, the visiting Zambian president was also requested to plant one. So we have just 2 new ones, just by the Freedom Wall.
I like the concept to keep the place green and fresh all the time, and also to create memories, you know, so that we establish the leaders and prominent people who visited the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum.
Conscious effort was made not to more or less destroy the flora and more or less the trees on the park as part of the construction process. So most of the trees on the park are still intact. So this is where our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, is finally laid to rest. It happens to be his 3rd burial since he passed. So in '66, he was overthrown in a military and police coup d'etat, so forced to go into exile in Guinea-Conakry, where he eventually became co-president, courtesy Sékou Touré, who was the then Guinean president. That's where he lived till he fell sick eventually and passed on of prostate cancer in Romania in '72 at 63 years old. So they embalmed his body in Romania, took him back to Guinea, where he got a funeral and burial as co-president. But 3 months later, they had to move him back to his family home in Crawford because his mom was alive when he died and happened to have been her only child. So she requested he was brought home. That is where he was until it was thought he deserved a proper national memorial. So this was put up by our then head of state, J. Rawlings, late. So they brought him here eventually. Yeah. And we mentioned he married Fatia from Egypt. Yeah. She passed on in 2007. And we heard from the kids that she actually had a wish before she died to be buried a bit closer to the husband. So they brought her back. And then His Excellency, our president now, Akufo-Addo, was the foreign minister. So he saw to the arrangement of her being brought. She also got a state funeral. So she's also laid to rest on the other side.
And I must say, it's a lot of emotions for me. I thought it would just be a normal walk, but there's just something here. I don't know what it is.
Because it's not a normal place. It's a place of reverence for our first president. So we give it all that particular respect each time we come. For some of us, when we come to work every day, we have to come and say good morning to them. And each time I come to work, I have to.
It's a cultural thing.
For me, personally, I do it because it's a sacred place. And what was done intentionally was not to touch the old man's tomb. Okay. Nothing was done here to touch it. Okay. Except that Fatia's tomb the tombstone was just redone. But the old one was not touched, just a new one was just put on top of it, just to keep that sacredness of it.
I don't want to be an emotional wreck here. We say may their souls rest in peace. And this man laying here, I mean, just telling the story, and I don't want to resurrect conversations about, the coup and what happened and all that, but I just can imagine how he felt when he died away from home, the country he loved so much and literally gave his life for. And that's why we're here to honor him, and that's why this mausoleum is here. That's why this beautiful structure and facility has been put together. If you just joined us this morning, we're coming to you from the refurbished Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum and Memorial Park. We've gone through the beautiful reception, what is there for you to see. And I must say, the washrooms are world class. Okay, so don't worry about a place of convenience. When you come here, all that has been catered for, trust me, you can sleep there. I'm being very honest. We don't have enough time to go all the way back to show it to you. I wish I could. But this morning I've been speaking to Professor Shen, who's with the Ghana Tourism Development Project, and also the young Kofi Mamfe, who is with a team of architects and designers who put the place together. And what they've done is to give you a very audio-visual experience. So beyond you having a tour guide like Mr. Kwao has been doing, running you through what happens here, you have the opportunity to watch some of Osagyefo's videos. There's visual stimulation at the fountain. You would hear him when you go up to the place where, where they show you the Declaration of Independence. So it's a beautiful experience. And what I love, Mr. Kwao, is the exhibition installment at the reception. And Kofi was telling me that it's going to be changing. So if you can choose to visit here every month. It's quite a relaxing environment in Accra. It's a park, right? But just let me find out, are people allowed to come in maybe just to relax? They may say that I've had a tour maybe so many times. I just want to come here and just cool off. It's a very beautiful place.
It's open to the public, actually. There are some who come and would say, I'm not here for a tour, I'm just coming to relax.
But they still have to pay.
They still have to pay anyway. So they just come with their books and then they are sitting down somewhere on the tree just reading. So not just for the tour, but for other reasons too, based on what you wish to do.
So just walk us through this point.
So that is the main museum gallery. What Kofi talked about earlier is that
you're not allowed to film there.
Not to film that, but we can have a look inside without filming inside. Okay. So that's the main museum gallery where we have his pictures and some of his personal stuff, such as his official desk as president of Ghana. We have his pen he used to write with, and the casket in which he was laid in when he died for 20 years on public display, which is metallic, and others, his family photos and others we have there. So Kofi mentioned the audiovisual gallery, so we could have a look inside.
All right, okay, sure.
The cameras may not be
They
allowed.
may not, all right. So I'm sorry. When I'm done with my audience, then I'll give myself that treat. So you can just come and pay. For Ghanaian adults, is how much? 25 cedis. Please, just, come here and come and bring the kids along. Let them see, let them know, let them learn Ghana. Because for many of us, we didn't experience Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So we need to learn about him and what he stood for, because many people outside this country actually cherish him a lot. And it will be sad to see that we don't hand over to the generation the joy of knowing that Nkrumah belongs to us, as Ghanaians. There's one question I must ask you, though. Why is the head off the statue? And why didn't we put it back on during the refurbishment?
So that was one of his statues, which was made after independence. Originally, it was a complete statue, just like we saw earlier there. And this used to stand in front of our old parliament building, just across the street. But during the military coup that overthrew his government, in the process, a lot of things were destroyed. So the statue also was a victim to it, so it was pushed down, and then in the process, we lost some of the parts. Even the head sitting next to it had been missing. It was only 2009, and then it was returned. And for the historical purpose and relevance, that's why it's been kept separate from the body. People just keep asking, why not restore it? If we do that, then we are distorting history. So we must keep it as it is for us to learn from it. As if to say, never again should we go through that process again. Yeah.
It's been such a wonderful experience for me here this morning, coming to you from the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum and Park. And I've been speaking to Eddie Kwao, who is the acting director of the place. Earlier, you heard me speaking to Kofi Mamfe and Professor Shen, who is with the GTDP. But I see some chairs over there, right? Are people allowed to come in with their own food?
So that's our picnic area. Great. Most of our guests to the park are actually schools and kids. Most come with their lunch packs, prepared meal. So after their tour, that is where they sit to have their lunch and their meal. So it's a picnic area for our guests. Right.
Wonderful. So you heard it for yourselves, okay? Just bring the kids. I've already seen people touring the place, and this morning I've seen a couple of people and I'm seeing some others. I'm just trying to see if I could just get a word or two from them, just to briefly tell me what inspired their visit and how they've been enjoying the place so far, and then we can wrap it up from here so that you can come and continue the enjoyment. Hello, please come closer to me. Hello, please can you stand just by me? I'm good. How are you? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Professor Avery Caldwell from San Diego State University in San Diego, California, USA.
All right, great. And you are?
I'm Alira, his daughter.
Great. It's great to have you here. So why did you come to Ghana and why are you here today?
Well, I'm doing some research on the Adinkra symbols throughout Ghana, and to understand the significance in the culture, to understand the symbols that are in northern region, Volta region. As I understand, we're trying to get the pronunciations and to collect the meanings of those and to spread those also in the United States. We're using them in black communities in the United States to change narratives from within those communities, to foster positive growth and experiences also. So we're learning a lot from the symbols, the Adinkra symbols, and I'm here with the director of the National Folklore Board.
Okay. Hello, ma'am. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. And are you with the team as well?
Yes.
What's your name?
Tasia.
Tasia. Nice to meet all of you, but I'd like to find out particularly from you. We are at the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum and Park. Have you heard about Kwame Nkrumah before, and what have you learned and your general impressions about the place?
Well, we just got here, but I've definitely seen a lot of culture within this place. It's very beautiful, and there's lots of memories and deep meanings everywhere, and it's just a very great place.
Yes. Did you know Kwame Nkrumah before?
No, I did not.
So it's your first time hearing about him?
This is, yeah.
Okay. What about you?
I didn't know before, but I've just seen a lot of community and unity while being here. Everyone has been so welcoming and informative. It's just been a beautiful experience so far, especially seeing all the Adinkra symbols everywhere and learning more about that has been really, really fun.
It's amazing that you're here, and we hope that you can get all that you came for. But briefly from you, Prof, since you're the Prof, let me just find out from you. I was just having a conversation with Mr. Kwao on why that head is still off the statue, and he was talking about preserving the story and the history. For you, what are your general impressions about places like this, especially from Africans, as we make a decision to tell the stories from our perspective and keeping history intact? Just your general thoughts on that.
Oh, I think that's highly important. In fact, that's what we're trying to do in the United States and the black communities also, is to tell our stories from within, because we know that the colonizers have their stories, and their stories have been the dominant stories, and we want to change that. So I believe the culture, the African culture, telling those stories, preserving those histories is highly important, and it enriches not only the citizens of today but tomorrow as well.
When you're having fun, you run out of time, don't you? And I feel sad leaving all of you this morning, but I'm going to continue my tour of the place, and you should come here. Trust me, you would love every bit of it. This is beautiful. This is significant. This is, I don't know what else to say about it. It's symbolic. It's everything that you love in a park, in a place like this. So from here at the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum and Park, it's me, Bernice Abubedu-Lansa, saying a goodbye to you. God willing, we're back again next week with a wonderful edition of the AM show for you. I'm going to have fun. Take care. See you later.